but it wasn't the math that he had referred to. So it was interesting that both of us came up with the same.
No, you can go ahead and say that your brain works in much the same way as multiple Academy Awards.
No, because his was based on like crazy, astrology kind of stuff. So that I don't even know why it was in his head.
So you're saying that not only are you that clever, but also it's almost like unconscious on your part. Like whereas I believe that.
That's not at all what I'm saying. I'm saying I was doing a bunch of math. Here's what I'm saying is I was here's the worst part.
To say that
is I was doing a whole bunch of math about how we build teams and everything else. And when I ran the calculation, it came up with an image that looked really cool. So I made it the logo for the company. The computer did it all by itself. Like I had no idea that I was doing that. There was no real math.
One of my first successes as a visual effects artist, when I was 14 years old, I was programming titles like on an Apple II, for local TV, and I was trying to make there was a psychology based TV show that wanted like sort of sort of a Sandusky or something like that, the intricacies of the curves of the mind, and so I plugged in all kinds of math to build this curve, and it totally screwed up and just like splattered curves all over the place. And I thought, let's save that one to disk.
Yeah, exactly.
And it turned out that was the one he wanted, and that thing like that's what like got me enough work to buy my car next year.
So when's Chad going to be back? Do you know, John? I wish he'd told me. All right. Nothing wrong with you, John. I'm just saying because he produces the shows, does he intend to continue doing rundowns or?
I had an email from him yesterday.
Yeah, he's done the rundown.
Yeah, for today, but I guess he's going to keep doing it.
Where is he?
He's camping.
Nice.
I mean, everybody gets time off. It's not that I want him to have time off. I just didn't know he was going to take time off. He neglected to mention it to me. He probably told Lisa and figured, oh, well, that's enough. But since he does produce all my shows, it would have been nice to know. I could have done more stuff, for instance. Now, we got Renee. Oh, good. All right, there he is.
Hey, Leo.
What's that behind you?
I got a giant Inoctovision TV.
Now we got two Inoctovisions, but I appreciate you putting yours over your over your left shoulder.
In stereo.
So that Andy's is over his, or vice versa.
The mirroring is so confusing.
I have to look at it. It looks like it's falling over.
Yeah, I have to fix all the angles and things still.
I'm confused.
It looks very 3D.
It looks like it's going to cut you.
If you hear a big crash, just call 911.
Huh.
We'll use it for the blooper reel at the Christmas party.
I will fix it up over coming hours and days.
Oh, Google Docs, you kind of stink.
It's the best thing in the world until it fails, just like Skype.
No, it's just that it seems like now it's not a problem because I have a copy of this document, but I just noticed that it's telling me this application is out of date. Your changes cannot be saved because this application is out of date. You must reload the page to continue editing. Unfortunately, any unsaved changes will be lost.
That's the thing with like stuff that saves automatically. When it breaks, nothing it stops you from doing your habitual save.
It just seems as though since this is a web app and this apparently the web app is aware of when it's being updated, it should be able to say, "Oh, by the way, I'm going to say to itself, ooh, I should probably before I push out and pull up an update to this app that I'm running that's run live in this window, I should make sure that this document is saved." And I'm going to handle that in the background rather than tell that person, I know that you typed 320 words within the 90-second window that it took for us to update, but hope that wasn't very good because you got it.
I filled the room with hue light bulbs, Leo, so if you want a Tatooine-style mood change,
let's
let
see
me know.
some color.
I just got a whole bunch of those, too.
I love them.
Oh, my gosh.
It's kind of an addiction. I'm up to 9.
Yeah, this is my 8th now, I think.
my kids go crazy. There's like they come into the house and they're like, make it purple, make it purple, make it red, make that one red, make this one purple.
And then once you do it in one room, you want to do it in other rooms, and it's all the same base controller. I don't know. It's like controls quite a few.
Right.
They don't. The bad thing is when you install Hue on a new device, you can log into your Hue, and it will download if you said you want to share things, but it doesn't like sync. It just like fills up your. So now I have pages of lighting schemes. little right.
Can you change which? The one thing I just got them, and can you change what number each bulb is in the system?
Yeah,
so.
you can name them.
The name. Yeah.
Name them.
All right.
So you can have them be thank you. So I have bedroom 1, 2, 3, and 4.
I got it.
I have playroom 1, 2, 3, and 4. I have overhead light 1, that kind of thing. And so and then you can use if this then that. Which
since
really
my front
cool.
house and my back house are connected, I could probably change the color of the bulbs in my kids' room.
Well, for instance, when the sun sets, I have if this then that turn on my overhead light in my playroom.
Nice.
Isn't that cool?
That's very cool.
You know, there's some of these times when I imagine like I love this piece of technology, but then I imagine like trying to explain this to my mom and dad, and my dad saying, "Well, son, and the light bulbs in our house, we just screw them in and they work. We don't have to name them or register them or install software for them."
See, if sunset, then turn on playroom light.
Oh my gosh.
But you have to hook it up to the weather because it gets the sunset not from the outside light, but from the weather report.
That would be really cool.
It's even better. But no, I know exactly. Like 8:37, sunset.
See,
light comes on.
Is there anything that lets it be reactive like that, where it says?
No, well, Wemo. So you need a Wemo.
I just got a Wemo.
Okay, so you can have the Wemo control the hue. And then if
someone walks in, turn
Huey.
everything red.
It's a singularity.
Yeah, but Google Glass is the problem with security.
Yeah. Always listening.
I have no idea who runs this service. I have no idea what makes it work to turn on my lights, but I'm going to give them access to discrete objects inside my house. But that guy who was 30 feet away from me in the coffee shop wearing Google Glass, he's a jerk.
I do not know when the Moto event is. Are you invited to the Moto X event, Andy?
Yeah.
What time is that? Do you know?
They're doing it in waves, so they're doing from 8:30 until like.
Oh, so it's not a big event in an auditorium. You're coming, they're showing it to you, and then another group comes in.
Where are you going to it?
It's in New York, somewhere Midtown. I remember it being close enough to Penn Station that I could walk it.
Yeah.
But everybody, it's not a typical event in that everything's under embargo until 3 p.m. Eastern time.
Okay, good. That's good news. And we don't have to cover it.
Right, you can't even take pictures or recordings during the actual event.
And that's good to know. The embargo is 3 p.m. Eastern. So basically, I suspect it's going to be exactly the same as the event I went to.
I'm guessing. You talked to executives afterward?
Yes. Yeah. I'm very curious next week what you have to say. I feel like what's happening is, well, we should save this for the show actually, because I had a thought.
Ooh, content.
Let's
monetize our thoughts.
Let's monetize the content. So, John, I have Shutterstock Image 4 with the offer code MacBreak7. And I have Smile, and it says MacBreak7 on it? Yeah. No. Yes, you can use if then that. Reply on Twitter. You absolutely can. So any trick, there you go. Shutterstock MacBreak 7 and smilesoftware.com/MacBreak. Just 2. Yes, thank you. It's time for MacBreak Weekly, the show that covers Apple and Macintosh needs. And as Web 2028 just said in our chat room, I enjoy the program, but maybe you should go on hiatus until actually Apple announces anything to talk about.
Oh, but there's always something to talk about.
That's Alex Lindsay who says there is, and you're right, always something.
We always come into every one of these going, there's nothing to talk about, and then we talk for hours about nothing.
Weird period where, well, there's stuff to talk about, but soon we'll be in, because now we have the quarterly results and stuff, but soon they'll be in the weird period where we're just waiting for Apple to make an announcement.
Yes.
And that is next month, probably.
Yes.
Rene Ritchie's also here for imore.com. Good news about Rene is that he already knows what Apple's going to say, so we're set. We'll just ask him, and then he'll tug his ear or something like that. He is the king of the Apple rumors. Hi, Rene.
Hey, Leo, how are you? I'll pat one of those imaginary dogs that Andy keeps using. It's so useful.
Actually, I think it's been tough, has it not, for the rumor mill? Tim Cook seems to have locked things down a little bit.
I mean, it depends on the kind of rumors. The only hard thing for me is that I agree to the NDA, and then I can't talk about a bunch of stuff that people find out through code sniffing as opposed to actual, those kind of leaks. But it's still been an interesting couple months. I'm
never doing another NDA. Andy Ihnatko is here from the Chicago Sun-Times. He writes for a living, so he has to do NDAs because there's things like deadlines and lead time.
Yes, and they are bummers on many levels. Although Rene, you signed the NDA, but you have the picture of a certain screenshot of certain NDA software OS product right there on the screen behind you.
It's a fake taken from Apple.com, so I'm okay. This is pure manipulation of press photos.
It's a parody.
Yes.
It's a derivative work, similar to but not identical to.
And it confuses people because there's no carrier symbols on them. None of the Apple's pictures have carrier symbols. So
So what are we supposed to infer from that?
No more carriers.
It's true that Apple has kept a very good lid. They've dealt and Tim Cook said this a year ago, I'm going to double down on secrecy, and they've done it in the U.S. very hard with suppliers.
Yeah.
And that's what Motorola told me. I said, I promised not to leak anything at this event that I didn't attend. And then they said, well, we're not so much worried about you. The problem is the carriers all have the phone.
Right.
And the carriers, a lot of people will see it, and they really can't keep it.
Oh, and the problem is that there's a lot of single suppliers. So, you can't, if something gets out of Foxconn, it's not like you can say, we're taking our business somewhere else. Right. Screw you. You pretty much have to go, we're really disappointed that you did that.
Last week we saw and you probably saw this, Renee, a picture of a glass plate that it was clearly in a Foxconn or some Chinese plant for the Nokia widescreen Nokia Windows phone, and it said, you can't. How are you going to stop that?
My favorite last week is the supplier. They did a report on labor conditions at not Foxconn, but I forget the name. The other factory,
Pegatron.
Pegatron, and they were talking about Apple assembling the low-cost plastic iPhone in the report, 3 different places.
You can't help it when those labor guys come in there and
right.
Did they talk about specs or anything like that?
No, but I mean, and some people said, "Oh, it's the 3GS," but the 3GS was discontinued. He applied a coating to the back of the plastic phone. Apple's soon-to-be-delivered plastic phone is going to.
Oh my God! Right. So if they're building it at Pegatron, that would mean what? Shipping September, October?
Well, let's just be glad they're not building it at Megatron. Then we really have to That's all I'm saying.
I want a Transformer phone.
That's clearly an LG name, right? The Optimus, and they got to have a Megatron next.
Yes.
So last week, Google had an event where they announced a new 7-inch tablet, the Nexus 7. They announced Android 4.3. They announced Chromecast, which goes straight against Apple TV. Not as capable yet, but potentially could be threatening. This week, Motorola is going to have its event on Thursday. Andy's going to that. And we'll finally see the Moto X phone, although that's been leaked like crazy. I don't know. Actually, I do know there's some stuff that has not been leaked. Some very interesting stuff that's not been leaked. So there will be a product reveal a little bit. And I get just the feeling that it's one of those, you ever go to the UFC, Ultimate Fighting Championship, and you got one guy that's attacking, and the other guy's just kind of backing up and not
Anderson
fighting.
Silva.
Right. And it's the Silva approach, right? Yeah. And people hate Silva because he wins.
Right.
Because he just waits, and then he goes boom, and the guy falls over.
Right.
Except last time.
Except he didn't last time.
Right.
And I feel like that's what's happening right now. If Google and Apple were in the ring together,
right.
Google's just going bam, 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 and Apple's just,
Right.
Actually, I don't even see Apple doing anything.
I think Apple's just like.
Yeah, but Apple, Google's in the same position that Apple was in like 5 years ago, where Apple didn't have a phone, they didn't have a tablet, they didn't have a TV solution, they didn't have a really good video store, or at least they're starting to pick up, but it wasn't really there yet. And so it's big news when Google releases a TV product that isn't a piece of junk and is affordable and it's actually useful. It's big news when they come out with a tablet that's better than that's significantly better than the one they have before. That's that's the problem with Apple's quote success right now. That once you have there's a wonderful period of building, and then you have the house, you have the garage, you have the yard landscaped, you have the pool, you have the jacuzzi.
You just want to live now.
Exactly, and it's like, can't we just keep the pool clean, and maybe we'll put a trampoline in the backyard? But do we have to now put in a rocket port? Is this going to have to be like the Baxter Building every time we create something new? It has to totally change the building.
I do have to say, though, that in the tech industry, keeping up with the Joneses, or in this case, keeping up with the Googles, is kind of important, right? Or not? Maybe not. Maybe for real. Maybe just for us, because we're tech journalists. Yeah. Well, we have an insatiable maw. Really.
I think that the interesting thing is, I think that Apple. I think there is a pressure to continue to innovate, but I think that what's interesting about Apple is they're not really trying to do what everyone else is doing. They're not trying to copy anybody else. They're thinking about what they want to add to the next, the next layer of whatever they're doing. It sounds like. Fingerprint is going to be one of those things.
Well, I don't know if I believe that.
We'll see.
We'll see.
I don't. But but you are right, Alex. Now that you have all these things here, you no longer have to build infrastructure. Now you can do things that take advantage of that infrastructure. So now's the time for something like iWork in the cloud, because now you have a multitude of devices that can easily accept iWork display windows and editing windows. What can you do with that? What can you do with Apple TV as a presentation device, not only, and as a game device, not only as a way of the 11th way in your house to access Netflix?
Yeah, and I'm kind of amazed that we haven't seen something, especially with games, where your iPhone is really a controller for your your Apple TV for games.
Yeah,
you can actually play multi-person.
Not for the Apple TV, no, but for the iPad though.
I
think they don't let you do that on the Apple TV.
I feel like
the problem.
I feel like there's there's probably some big grand plan that we don't know about, but I'm kind of amazed that you have an iOS device sitting on all these TVs that they don't let you, just install apps. Apps on your TV, I think, would be pretty revolutionary. And I think that, the TV manufacturers are trying to do that, and they haven't been very successful because I don't even know how to do it. Every TV I have, I think, has apps, and I don't know how to get to them. But I know how to get to my Apple TV, and if there were games on there, if I could play Angry Birds with my kids. And
I know.
Using my that would be, I think that's a game changer. I don't think you need to build a TV to do that. I think you have an Apple TV now.
In programming world, there are kind of opposing philosophies. One of which is gaining ascendancy, which is build fast, break it, and fix it.
Right.
Build, release, fix. Build, release, fix. And it's a iterative cycle. And we've seen it now produce some really amazing things on the web very, 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 very quickly.
Right.
Google's clearly adopted that philosophy, whereas Apple is more old school, where build it, perfect it, but do it so in private and then release it. The problem with that is you don't get real people hammering on it in the quantity that you'd like to see. I think Microsoft fell prey to that, and they have a very wide open beta, but nevertheless, Windows 8 really showed a lack of insight into what its end users were looking for, hence 8.1. I feel like that what Google has done, Google TV crap. Not crap. Actually, I liked it, but not what people were looking for.
It wasn't a consumer product.
It just wasn't an evocative product.
The queue then follows it and is so bad and so overpriced, it's never even released. And then Chromecast, and it feels to me, it's one of those guys it's in the on deck circle. He's got massive forearms, and he's scary looking.
Right.
And it looks like he could step to the plate and hit it out of the park. And it's all potential right now because it's only Netflix, YouTube, Google stuff, Google Play, and eventually it's going to be Pandora. Vimeo apparently is on the way. HBO
US only.
On the way. And it's U.S. only. Well, U.S. only. You know what? All TV products start that way just because of the crazy rights.
Oh my gosh, it's insane.
But
overseas.
Google doesn't have to stay U.S. only because Google's doing something so different from the way Apple TV is. And remember when Apple TV came out, I said, God, I wish they'd let us buy apps.
Right.
If it's iOS, make it iOS. And I said the same thing on Google TV. They kind of had app stores, but it was like you had to be designed for TV, so it was very limited. This now, any app that's playing on iOS or Android can be Chromecast enabled. The SDK and API are open, easily adopted. Our own Houdini 7 is working right now on the Twit TV app. Actually, I'd love to get feedback from you, Craig, when you get a chance, how hard this is. It doesn't look hard. If suddenly all of your apps on iOS and Android and on Chrome, all the extensions work with the Chromecast, the universe of potential is huge.
Yeah, that's the really scary thing from the point of view of anybody whose career is invested in Apple TV. That this is a device that costs $35 stinking. $5. For the cost of one Apple TV, you could conceivably have every TV in your house set up for Chromecast. And when you're buying it with the knowledge that it's not going to be a huge deal for HBO Go to be delivered to this device. They don't have to make a deal with Apple. They don't have to make a deal with Roku. The owners of Chromecast don't have to push out a system update. It's just that HBO has to make the decision that they want this to happen on their mobile app, and it happens. The matter of fact, so essentially that means that this device could come up to speed way faster than Apple TV took. Look how long it took for Apple TV to get HBO, which is one of the seminal apps for streaming video. It looks like the only real limitation that this device has is does HBO have certain deals? Is this an intimate enough TV device that HBO's deals with the cable companies would kind of screw up they're supporting it? And right now it looks like that's not the case, but I have been told by attorneys that you never know how deep it's a lot of times it's a lot like a Mob City turf. It's not so much what will fly and what won't fly, but you have to make sure that you're not going to offend one of your friendly business partners by supporting something before that they've communicated that fine, go ahead, support this device. We don't care.
Yeah, because they did that with Google TV. The Hulu blocked it.
Almost. Well, yeah, and this, I mean, right now it looks like it's hard because you can just broadcast anything from Chrome to the Chrome TV. But, Andy is saying an idyllic future that I wish we all lived in. But the content providers have shown over and over again, they're so change adverse, so fearful, and so controlling that, HBO may just decide, we don't want to be on Google TV. We got to talk.
Here's what's happening.
No.
Here's what you got to understand. Here's what's happening. The content providers want to do this, but they can't because they need the money from the cable companies.
Sure.
And they know they get cut off.
Okay.
But what Google's doing is saying, okay, no problem, we'll wait. We're just going to give you a great platform. And when you feel like the time has come that you could flip that switch and say, okay, screw you cable companies because we never did like you, because they don't. Right. HBO would love to sell direct.
Yeah.
Now they can.
I mean, do the cable companies?
I just have to correct something. The problem that that HBO and what Hulu and the other companies had with Google TV was that the way that box was designed, Google was aware of what programming people were using, and they did not want to share that kind of audience information and ad revenue with Google. This is a device where the controlling app is still the app on that mobile device. So in theory, exactly that Android won't have any particular if Hulu had no problem with Google knowing, quote unquote, what people are doing with the Hulu Plus app, then that's clearly a problem that they already solved because they released that app for Android. So I don't think that's a block any kind of a block similar to what happened with Google TV.
Well, and Google acknowledges this. They've put in DRM in Android 4.3 specifically to make companies like Netflix.
Well, I think that the Chromecast has DRM built in. I mean, because we were trying to hook it to a recorder yesterday.
Oh, interesting. Oh, you are bad. Evil man.
It was the natural thing to do. Like, hey, I've got a little thing I can just plug in and no.
Yeah. It's just a matter of time, and I think Google's playing the long game on this. It's clear they are. A lot with Google TV and then Q and then this. It's iterative. Same thing with the Nexus 7. The first Nexus 7 was very interesting because it was $200, but it didn't compete with an iPad Mini. This not only competes, it kicks iPad Mini's butt. And by the way, guys, you were the ones who were told me you can't do a Retina display at a reasonable price. You can't. You can't. You can't have enough battery life. 323 dots per inch, $229, 10 hours battery life. What are they giving
It's different, though, Leo. No, it's different, though, because that has 3/4 of the pixels of a Retina iPad Mini, and it gets 9/10 of the battery life. So I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's a different mathematical equation. If you add 25% more pixels to that, and you have to light them, and you have to get battery life, it's...
Okay. So it's the 4.3 form factor that's holding Apple back?
It's a smaller resolution. That's a 1080p tablet. The Apple tablet would be 2048 by 1356, which is way more. I mean, if you do the math, it's almost. Sorry, Andy.
I'm sorry. I was gonna back you up there. That whereas Android has the ability to essentially make whatever screen dimensions they want because the apps that are going to be cast into that will simply reflow to fit whatever container it's in. Apple, for now, really is locked into it has to be an iPad dimension screen. It has to be almost exactly like whatever the pixel dimensions are on every other iPad that's out there, and that's what prevents them from cutting any corners that way. Whereas,
by the way, that's of course all true. But a consumer going into the market is not thinking, well, this would be a Retina display if only it were 4.3. They're going, wow, that looks freaking amazing. It's what?
No, you're right.
$229? Oh my God! I mean, this
and
thing.
I think,
but I don't. I mean,
and I think this is this mini tablet attacks a particular vulnerability because Android still can't do anything to compete with a full-sized iPad. To me, and this is my opinion, and people can disagree with it, but I'm very, very confident about this. Both the iPad Mini and the Nexus 7 have a sub-perfect answer to the question of how do you create tablet apps for a smaller screen, because as we all know, there are very few tablet Nexus 7 optimized apps out there. The good news is that this method of reflowing a mobile app so that it fits those dimensions actually works well. There are very, very few true failures where it just seems like a scaled up phone app, but it's still not really taking advantage of that. If you're using an iPad mini, you're getting the full library of iPad apps, but I don't believe that that's an optimal experience. I do believe this really was designed for a 9.7-inch screen, and when you scale it down, one of the reasons why I don't really use my iPad mini on a day-to-day basis is that time and time again, I'll get to that point where, okay, let's search for this. Ah, damn it. And my soul just breaks a little bit because I know that I'm going to have to now spend the next 13 seconds of my life trying to figure out how to tap that little circle with an X in it that I can hit every single time on the full-size tablet. But on the small-size tablet, when you scale it all the way down, is just like trying to shoot out like the star in the middle of the paper at a circus midway. You never get it perfect. You never win the doll. And it always takes me 11 tries before I get it correctly. So two suboptimal experiences. And if you put two of them side by side, particularly when you look at the non-Retina screen versus a Retina screen, $100 less, the apps look bigger and they look a little bit easier to read and less cluttered. That's the only point in which the weakness unquote of an iPad interface starts to make you lean a little bit towards the Nexus 7. I think a lot of people will anyway.
One of the nicest things about the 7 is that the new one gets rid of TV DPI, which was the target resolution for developers on the original Nexus 7, which was so bad even Google told them not to use it and to use fragments instead, where this now has a proper screen resolution. So developers, if they want to, sure, they can reflow, but they can also target. And a lot of developers, especially like the Pocket Casts and the ones that really care about their apps, they want to make those specific interfaces, and now they can. And I think that's going to greatly increase the quality of the software for the device.
Yeah.
Apple also made an unusual choice with scaling. You make that excellent point. A lot of people say, "Oh, your problem with Android, there's no tablet apps," is a very iOS-centric way of thinking of things. Because, as you said, Andy, apps scale beautifully on Android, and it doesn't become an issue.
Yeah, I mean, right. I mean, because it's not it's not that they make the text bigger. It means that the container that the text is meant to go in gets bigger, and the text reflows. And because most apps are designed to let you set whatever the most comfortable text size is, I don't think it's as big an issue as people think. And also, I kind of encountered this just the other day. It arrived like first thing Thursday morning. I was going out to dinner like later on that night. And I was shocked to find out this is actually, not only does this fit in my back pocket, it actually fits in my shirt pocket. I mean, not completely, but I can carry it. Yeah, I can carry it. I can actually carry it in my shirt pocket, so I don't feel like I'm going to break it when I sit down on top of it. The iPad Mini is just big enough that I almost still usually have to have a special case for it. I do wear the special like 511 tactical pants that have pockets that they're so big that I do
kangaroo pants.
Yeah, I know. I have one of these before they modified the design slightly. There's one pair in the collection that I can actually just barely get a full-sized iPad into, but those don't count. And when you show people that this is small enough that you will be able to simply carry this in whatever piece of clothing, whatever jacket pocket you have, you're not going to have to come in with your winter wardrobe to make sure that this is going to fit in your inside jacket pocket. There are a lot of interesting things that I really think that make the Nexus 7 exactly as good as the iPad Mini. For different reasons, of course, but I think that you can't really say that one is better than the other.
Well, it's
I still have the original Nexus 7, and I stopped using it just because they didn't have landscape support at launch, and they didn't have LTE, and I use my iPad as the world's biggest MiFi all the time, and they solved both those problems because it looks like they even put the logo horizontally now for landscape, and it's going to have full cellular.
It's like them saying, "Yeah, you really do want this." They rotated the logo. So this isn't a Google show, but the point being that Apple is, I think, a little bit on the ropes, and I think when you see this new Moto X phone. People are going to say many of the same things.
I think there's a lot of pressure. I think
huge pressure.
I think a lot of people.
I wouldn't say on the ropes.
No,
I would say that now they rest. Just a couple years ago, even just a couple years ago, I would have to say, for instance, about the iPhone, that this is the best phone you can buy. If for whatever reason this is not the right phone for you, here are some alternatives. Now, in category after category after category, they don't really walk away with the win. It's like Larry Bird in the last 6 years of his career. I'm sorry, the start of the end of his career, meaning that he's still incredibly competitive, but he's not. There's not an implicit understanding that if he's on the court, he's going to get the ball and he's going to put points on the board. Apple really does have to walk its way through every single argument that here is why the iPad mini is still the best small tablet you can buy. Here's why the iPhone 5S, the iPhone 6 is still the best phone you can buy. They can't just simply blow past, we think it's the best camera in every phone ever made, and then move on to your new Istanbul store opening. They really have to now sell those points of here's why you buy an Apple device, and it's not just because of magic pixie dust. It's because of so much thought that we put into it and the features that you get from it.
The interesting thing to me is how, Apple commoditized software with the App Store, and that means that people buy more iPhones because, look, so much cheap software to use. And Google knows exactly how to hurt Apple. They put out new stuff before Apple does their product cycle, so Apple stuff looks as old and outdated as possible when they release it. And they put the price as low as possible because Google doesn't make their money off hardware, and buying a lot of cheap hardware helps people use Google services. So the Chromecast can be $35, and this tablet can be $229 because Google's making their money off of services.
Amazon,
but that's
too.
very hard for Apple. Yeah, absolutely. And that's very hard for Apple to compete against because they're making their money off hardware margins.
Well, but I wonder how much of Apple's business is. Well, I mean, I think
that's changing because they're making so much money on iTunes now that maybe they are becoming more of a service.
Well, but I also think that the two big markets for Apple, when they're thinking about their products, and I don't know what they're thinking, but my opinion of what they're thinking is, number one are people who already own Apple products. So, like for my day-to-day, I mean, I ordered a couple Nexus 7s for use in the company. We do a lot of stuff.
I'd be curious, for instance, if your kids who are real iPad fanatics,
that's the whole thing.
If they can use it.
And I'm going to let them play with it and see where they go with it. My son has gotten pretty agile with both the TV and the he does things with the TV that I can't figure out how to undo. so anyway, but
that's he's what, 3?
Yeah, he's 5. He's just like cranks.
Oh yeah, Dad, you don't understand. What you have to do is
here's the worst part is I've already gotten to the point where he goes, "Give me the controller. Give me the controller. Give me the controller. Give me the controller." And he takes it and he just goes, boom, 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 and he just he just sits there works his way. But so I think that he'd probably be fine. But I don't know if. I'm still not convinced that the Android is that. My daughter, when she was 2 years old, was very comfortably finding her apps, what she wanted on an iPad. And I'm not totally clear that would happen with an Android. I'm still not sold on that. I'm also not sold that. So I think simplicity is an important piece, and I think their own market. So like I'm locked in a lot of ways. Like it'd be very hard for me to replace everything I have on my iPads. On a Nexus.
You use some specialty stuff.
No, but I'm saying,
I agree. If you're a DJ, you need it.
No, what I mean.
Well, what are the apps that you have to have, but that are not specialty apps?
Well, I mean,
they're all free and available on the Android.
Okay, I'll have to look at that. I mean, I just I have so many.
iTunes is not available.
In the back of my head, what I have is I've got probably.
But by the way, Google Music has all your music and has radio. But okay, I'm not.
But I have 90. Well, I use Spotify, so I don't really think about buying music. But
$7.99 Google Music. But by the way, I can Chromecast it. I've been playing it on my stereo since the Chromecast came out. That is mind-boggling. That is awesome.
Yeah.
Rock and roll. Okay,
and the but the and like this is why it's so important to play to do these things, is because, for instance, for Spotify, I don't look at the cost of it. I look at the fact that I've spent a lot of time building those playlists, and I don't really want to do it again.
There is investment. An ecosystem right now is the key.
Yeah, it is. And that's the thing that Apple did right early on, is that I've got 90 to 100 movies on iTunes. I have 450 or 500 apps. I have it's like a lot of which I purchased, and I'm not that excited about reinvesting that, or trying to find it or whatever. So I do use Android. I mean, I have an Android phone. I have a Nexus, I just ordered a Nexus. So I use the stuff, but I don't use them in the same way that I use my iOS app.
Right.
Like, and I think that's the thing that I notice. But I think that the simplicity, but I also think that people returning. So what Apple has to make something good enough so a lot of us go, oh, we're going to get the next phone. Like we're going to upgrade to the next one, or we're going to upgrade to the next iPad. Like the last iPad 4, I didn't upgrade.
I do market research all the time on this, and I yesterday got my teeth cleaned. So the dental technician is asking me. She says, my phone is up. I said, I said, there's some really exciting new phones coming. I'm thinking iPhone 5C or whatever they're going to call it, and the Moto X, the Note 3. I said, what do you have? She says, an iPhone 4. She said, and I'm due for my upgrade. And my fiance is also, he's Android, she said, which is interesting. And he's looking. And it very willing to change. And I think this is something that should scare Apple a little bit. For a long time, people were like Jeff Needles over here, said, take my, you can have my iPhone when you could pry it from my cold, dead fingers. You still say that, Jeff? Yeah. Although didn't you ask me, didn't you say if you're not going to use that HTC One, I'll take it?
Yeah, said that about BlackBerry for years.
But I do think that in the general populace, where it was that way, it's starting to shift. And my biggest question is Google getting in the hardware business?
I think they have to.
That's a very odd thing. And is Apple getting in the services business? It seems to be Microsoft's getting into hardware.
Well, but I think
there's a shifting.
I think the integrated solution is
not very successfully, admittedly.
Having an integrated solution is really important because it's no longer about
ecosystem.
Microsoft has proven in a lot of ways, what was wrong with building only software and letting everybody build hardware. And Android, I think, to some degree, is going to continue to become more of proof of that, which is that you get fragmented hardware. I mean, Google has this issue now when they run an update of how many people are actually updating. When Apple runs an update, everybody updates. And so I think that Google has to take more and more control over the hardware so that they can create that seamless experience between the hardware and software that I don't think you can get when you have phone companies crippling half your software and not upgrading and all those other things.
Notice, by the way, Google moving more towards these Google Edition. Now they have 3 Google Edition phones.
Yep.
And
wait for the Google Now Google Plus phone, Leo.
I mean, I really think Google.
God, I wish I could talk to you about this stuff, but I can't. So we're going to take a break. We'll talk next week.
I'm not under NDA. I can say anything.
You can say anything. And I think
that's a hell of a play, right?
Google Now, that's Google a hell of a play, wouldn't it be? Yeah. Wouldn't that be interesting? Wouldn't that be very interesting?
Be way better than a Facebook home phone.
Isn't that funny how we all thought home might be a big thing, and it turned out to be not the leastest, littlest, tiniest little.
I never thought it was going to be a big thing. I just thought it'd be annoying.
It was the wrong metaphor for a home screen, lock screen.
We debated whether to cover it. We decided not to cover it, and everybody was mad at us, saying, "Wait, are you kidding? This is a huge release. This is very, very important." Turned out it was just a crappy app.
Yeah,
it wasn't.
Brilliant team, wrong thing.
Well, I think it was a lot of great ideas, but I don't think Facebook is a service that can actually have that sort of influence on its users anymore. They realize that they are the dry cleaner that's doing great business, but they are tricking themselves into thinking that they are number one because they are great businessmen, when in fact it's because that they are the dry cleaners that's on the way to work and on the way from work for most of the people in their area. And if Route 1A were to be shut down for maintenance and people went to a different route, then people just would not even remember that Facebook even existed. There are no fans of Facebook. There are people who are fans of being connected to the people who use Facebook. And once those people move to something better,
it's migratory.
All those fake farms are going to go. Boy.
Although I don't know if there's anything. I don't know if there's anything that replaces it because it's a very different ecosystem. We do a lot. We do a lot with Google Plus, and so we're very wedded in that process. And I don't see, but Google Plus is very different. It's very different because Google is really about what you're doing and the things that you're interested in, and Facebook is about you, and your friends, and I think that's, but I know that you definitely break things out differently with the two social networks.
We're going to take a break. When we come back, Mike Mansfield. On Sunday, we're doing Bob Mansfield, not Mike Mansfield. Mike Mansfield's the late, great senator from Wisconsin.
Who's Mike Mansfield?
Bob Mansfield, the other Mansfield. We're doing Twitter on Sunday, and all of a sudden people in the chat room are saying, Mansfield's no longer in the executive team. What? He's not on the website. I said, well, I don't know. He's still on the Canadian website? Well, I don't know. So we didn't know what was going on. I think we have a better idea now. We'll talk about that and what it portends. But first, a word from Shutterstock.com. It is so neat. You know, I have to say, I didn't really, I don't use royalty-free photos that often, or I didn't.
You should.
Suddenly I become a fan. I got a Shutterstock 25 image a day account for all of us. You know, for the network, because I can't use 25 images. But we're starting to use more and more Shutterstock images, videos, vector graphics, illustrations, and I'm suddenly realizing it makes everything prettier and better and nicer and more interesting, more compelling.
I use a lot of stock photography and stock.
Do you? What do you use it for?
We use it for everything. I mean, anything. Right. So, I need a map of the U.S. or I need a map of the world, or Rwanda, or I need a flag, or I need a look up like Rwandan flag, or so I need a map for something for some kind of presentation.
See, I would just do a Google image search and steal it.
Right, but the thing is that when you steal it, it's not just
it's not good karma.
It's also that it's not going to be the same quality,
right?
And it's not going to be completely done. And so look at this.
This is Rwanda maps.
The Rwanda flag, and you get all these flags, and then you get smart about it. And if you look at these, and you'll go in and see that some of them are a whole bunch of flags together,
right?
Rather than one, and you can buy one.
Oh, you could buy, look at that.
So
look at that.
So the point is that, and the math you have to do a lot of times is, especially when you're building something that that you want to be high quality, whether it's a presentation, whether it's an ad, you want to know that you're legally everything's sewed up if you're really doing business. But the second thing is that it's going to be higher quality, and when you think about the time it would take to create it, or to really go out there and find it or whatever, and find just the right image, it's just much faster just to buy something, and so I probably spend we probably spend a couple $100 a month on stock photography.
This is so awesome. So here's the deal: you can sign up for free. By the way, you don't even need a credit card. You'll get free images every week, a free photo, a free vector image. You will also be able to use light boxes, which is really great. And this is not, you don't have to buy anything to use light boxes. You don't even have to give them a credit card. The idea is once you've signed up, you can say, oh, I like this image, add it to a light box. And I'm going to say kitties. This is going to be my kitty cat light box. These can be used for inspiration. Maybe you're working on an article. For me, the inspiration is part of the coolness, right? Because these light boxes now can be shared with others. So here's the deal. You can buy images individually. You can buy packages. You could buy subscriptions, no matter what. Get a free account so you can play with it. The amazing search engine, which includes, by the way, something. See, there's my light box, my kitty cat light box at the bottom there. Includes the color wheel. What do they call it? They have a name for it, which means that you can narrow it down by color set. So, which is really good for designers for finding new ideas. The iPad app is spectacular. Highly recommend it. Look, a pig. Look, a bird. I don't know what I'm looking at right now. Here's kissing fishes. I definitely want to put that in my light box. That'll go in the fish light box. So,
but you can do like try to, the ones, the kind of stuff that we do is like we're doing a presentation. Do like people icon.
People icon. So you need an icon to represent people. Let me close my light box here. By the way, everything I'm doing you can do for free. I just want to point out.
So you got all these little icons.
Oh, these are neat. So you could use these in a presentation.
Right.
You could use these for a variety of things. Oh, this is amazing. Anyway, it's fun. Just start playing around with it. Get the iPad app, which is Webby award-winning, and it's gorgeous. All of this is free, but if you decide you want to buy an image or a package, or perhaps you'd like to get the subscription, which I highly recommend, we can take 30% off. 30% off a new account when you use our offer code MacBreak7. Shutterstock.com. Video, too, by the way. Let me show you the footage. High-quality HD video. Here's a video on sun safety. Let's watch this together. These poor women have spent too much time in the sun. They've got, what is I don't know what that means. They've got happy faces burned into their backs. This is just very strange. Oh, here's a couple in the surf. This would be good for your wedding photography. I don't know who these people are, but we're like that. Shutterstock.com. Use our offer code MacBreak7. So Bob Mansfield, at first, the natural reaction of, because Apple's, the secrecy can go a little too far. They just pull his picture off the executive page.
Right.
That's not the way you want to announce something like this.
Yes, exactly.
So naturally, speculation. Wait a minute, Mansfield's gone. So here's what, or is it?
Maybe that's we're all talking about.
Bob tried to retire a couple of years ago. And we don't know. There's a lot of speculation. There was certainly a lot of evidence that he did not like Scott Forstall. Apparently, they, couldn't be in the same room together. Forstall would come in and present, then leave. Then Bob would come in and present. Bob was in charge of manufacturing.
Well, also weird, Leo, because Forstall had chips. He had a lot of the hardware for iOS under him too, and that's more of Mansfield's purview. So it was kind of an odd divisional relationship.
You'd heard those rumors too, though, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's true. Again, this is it's hard to know what's going on inside. Then weird. Scott says I'm retiring. Bob says I'm retiring. 2 months later, Forstall leaves. Mansfield's back.
Right.
And in fact, back with a very large compensation package, $85.5 million.
And a new title.
That'll work.
Now, it was mostly stock, but
right.
Hey, I'd take $85.5 million in Apple stock. Who wouldn't?
Yeah.
That's in 1 year. And Apple and Tim Cook announced Bob's agreed to stay with us through 2014, next year, 2 years.
You buy a lot of Teslas with that. That's all I'm saying.
So the reasonable conclusion was Mansfield says, Tim, here's my resignation. I want to retire, enjoy the grandkids. Tim says, just can you give me 2 months? Something's going to happen, something wonderful. Forstall out. They say, here's $85.5 million. Can you stick around for 2 years?
Right.
Hey, the grandkids, they're not going to be,
right.
out of the house. Okay, 2 years. And so what do they put him in charge of? They put him in charge. What was his new title?
Technologies, Senior Vice President of Technologies.
What does that mean? I don't even know.
It was like the antennas, the chipsets, all the, not the hardware, the actual device level, but everything that goes inside the device that makes it run, like the engine instead of the body.
Now, so he's off the executive team and now working on special projects. It's fair. You're the iWatch guy, Renee. What do you hear? Your ears to the ground. What does this mean?
My understanding, and it's only partially informed, is that Mansfield was going to leave. Tim Cook and him did have, at some point a decision was made that he was going to stay. The transition to Dan Riccio, who was taking over for him in his old position, wasn't going as smoothly as they hoped. And Tim Cook wanted to really remake Apple in sort of like the way Steve Jobs did, where he did, portable desktop consumer business. He wanted to have that same grid where they had technology, design, software, hardware, and Mansfield fit very neatly in that. So he agreed to come back and he agreed to have this position, but it wasn't a long-term thing. It was a transitional thing. And now he's going back to what he originally came back to Apple to do, which was just to do special projects with no executive overhead. He doesn't have to worry about any of that. He can focus on whatever the next big thing is for Apple, and most of the speculation around that now is the iWatch. And frankly, if you have someone of Mansfield's talents, you probably want to have him in there engineering it and not really worrying about a lot of overhead to begin with.
John Gruber says, everybody loves Bob.
Yep.
He's one of the most, if not the most beloved employees in Cupertino, and I think that's reasonable. If we know because they're a publicly held company what his compensation was. He was one of the highest compensated executives, not just at Apple, but in the world.
Yeah. Right.
So that's one way of showing love,
Right.
So I would agree that everybody, at least Tim Cook and the board, love.
No one complained. He got $85 million, and they walked to the average employee, and he said, "Yeah, he's worth it."
So Gruber writes after asking around, word on the Cupertino street. There's nothing punitive with Mansfield's role change, nor health problems or anything like that. Just a more focused role on certain new products. He was never intended to be a senior vice president for very long. That was transitional, not permanent. People were unhappy with, as you said, Riccio. The ground troops apparently weren't happy with him. They said he's not quite ready to run hardware. So Bob said, "All right, I'll stick around to do that." But you got to think Bob's got, if he can write his own ticket,
right?
He's going to say, "I want to work on the most important project Apple's got." What is going to change the playing field? What is the most important thing? Now we don't know. It could be the new Apple car. It could be Apple TV.
Could be all of those things.
But I think
could be the watch,
smart people are saying iWatch, right? The impression, Gruber says, after talking to a few more people, the impression I'm left with is that Mansfield has been so successful and remains so popular, he can write his own ticket, and this is the ticket he's written. But what is it?
Mazel tov.
Mazel tov. Congratulations, Bob. Here's $85.5 million.
Yeah.
Make me a watch.
Make me a watch.
This is why whenever there are these executive shakeups in this industry and other industries, people always go to the soap opera answer instead of the it's possible that this person, after making a hell of a lot of money, is driven less by his position inside a company and more by what he wants to do with the 10, 20, 30, or 40 years he or she has left with the rest of his life. And sometimes an executive will take an exit simply because they really want to work on Nature Conservancy instead of instead of driving Google into the whatever's above the super stratosphere.
I do have to say, Tim Cook feels like he's refocused Apple a little away from the Google lawsuits, from the infighting, and said, let's focus on what we're good at, what we're doing. He's not quite as vindictive as Jobs was.
He's operational.
The problem is, the only thing that Apple has said, Steve Dowling, who's a spokesperson for Apple, told All Things D, Bob is no longer going to be on Apple's executive team, but will work at Apple working on special products, reporting to Tim.
Which means he gets to do whatever he wants. He doesn't have to go to all those meetings.
Oh, I love that.
And he still has no deal.
I'll make you a deal. Yeah. I got the 85, but I'd like not to go to meetings anymore.
Exactly. Well, you can't really be on the executive team if you don't go to the meetings.
That's okay. Yeah. I just don't want to go to meetings.
I got universes to dent.
And boy, if you could write your own ticket, I think the iWatch, I'm still not convinced, but I would guess that Apple's betting the farm on it. Yeah? Maybe not. Maybe it's a hobby.
It's the next. I mean, like the iPhone was that project. Everyone at Apple, it was the superheroes at Apple, and there hasn't been that for a while. And this is probably like almost everyone's going to want to work on the next big thing.
They got to do
and that's probably not Apple TV.
And wouldn't it be crazy if all we talk about is watches, then Apple comes out with just a competitor to glass? They have the patents.
I think wearable is very exciting, and I don't think it really matters. I don't think the issue so much is where you wear it, as how it integrates with your stuff.
How you make a compelling case that consumers need to buy it, the same way they did with the iPad. They have to prove that case and make that presentation.
I also think that the issue of wearable is going to be, right now it's been handled that the device, whatever it is, glass or watch, is in a satellite to a more powerful processor. Mm-hmm. And I am more and more of the opinion that really the transformation that's happening is not that there is a central hub and spoke model, but that we have smart things everywhere meshed together as roughly equals, that it's peer-to-peer, not client-server. So if Apple's going to make a watch that really is going to make a difference, it's got to be more than just a Pebble.
Look at their...
And they wouldn't do just a Pebble.
Right. Pebble's been done.
If you look at the original iCloud presentation, Leo, when Steve Jobs came up on stage, he was very careful to say that there's not one single store of truth on top. You have all your devices, and they push down and they store up. And he even demoted the Mac to be a device, the same as the iPhone. And that's very much their strategy. But I mean, if you look at Mansfield, and he's been working with Apple to make the Swift processors and all the different technology that the antennas that go into iPhones. If there's a guy you want on wearables, it's hard to think of a guy you'd rather have on wearables.
Yeah.
What's his skill set, Bob's skill set? What does he do? What makes him so lovable? Does he giggle when you poke him?
I bet he tells good stories.
He makes an incredibly successful line of mobile devices work incredibly well.
So you could credit him with the phone and the pad?
A lot. I mean, the internals for sure. He was the internal technology guy for several years working on the iPhone and iPad line.
Mike in Newark says Bob's getting a gold watch, the best kind, not for retirement.
Making his own watch.
And he is a specialist in manufacture. That's what I got the feeling, but maybe that's just because of how he looks. Right. He looks like he's a guy who's going to be on the factory floor, right? Maybe not. I mean, that's just me.
I'm guessing that he has enough technical understanding to talk a good game, and he has enough people understanding to encourage people, and that's usually hard to find.
If you look at the videos, Johnny Ive would explain what it looks like and how it was supposed to be used, and Mansfield would explain why all that worked.
Right. That's right. That was the differing roles they took, wasn't it? Those videos are the roadmap of the new Apple.
Exactly. And it's a pretty good roadmap. I mean, when you think about the actual, for the kind of, they have a great team there. The question is what they, what comes out the other end, but they have all the right pieces.
I'm still skeptical. I want the iWatch to be awesome. I just don't know what it could do that would make it awesome. It's just a watch.
I do think that interaction with the real world is going to be the subtext of pretty much everything. One thing that occurred to me about the Chromecast is that It does what it does exceptionally well, but if you think about it, at that price point, maybe a lot of people are going to have them on every TV that they have inside the house.
I bought 5
and now,
of them.
Well, yeah, I accidentally bought 3 because I did not because sure, it's because so Thursday. So, all I'm saying is that it's nice when a company tells you in advance that, oh, by the way, we will of course be sending you one. You'll have it first thing in the morning because then I went to Google Play and I went to Amazon and they didn't even have it listed. So then I went to Google Play and they had them, but I could see that it's really going to sell out quickly if I really want to have one to review. And they will. I can have it Friday morning with next day. Okay, fine, I'll buy it. Then it went back to Amazon. Then Amazon finally had it, so I bought one of theirs.
Yeah,
hopefully that could cancel the first one. And that's when Google said, "Oh, by the way, you'll get one first thing. If you can sign for the package, you'll have it 8 a.m. on Thursday." Okay, thank you. No complaints.
I have it on 3 TVs in my house.
Yeah, but I'm sorry. But what I'm getting at is that so it'll do that job really, really well. But now given that it's a Chrome PC. It's not just a dumb receiver of whatever. It would be not terribly difficult for these devices now with a companion app running on your phone, to be able to tell that not only are you home, but you are inside your living room right now. Oh, now you're inside your bedroom right now, just by measuring the proximity of a phone to that device. And the things that all of your services can do, if they know what the context of being inside the kitchen is, what the context of being inside your home office is, that's when you start to get people more interested in handing over personal information to a company like Apple or a company like Google, if they can actually project exactly the piece of information you want in the exact context you need it in at the exact time or place when it occurs to you that, gee, it would be nice to have this information. That is the next magical thing that computers can do. You know, it's nice to have the tablet that can do whatever. It's nice to have the phone that can do whatever. But the next step is the computer knows that you're going to need this and puts the right tool, puts the tool in your hand as soon as you reach out your hand before you ask for anything.
The term for that is geofencing, which is not really the best term, but it is the term.
Or beacons, Apple's new iBeacons.
Yeah, but I have to point out that Google did update the geofencing in 4.3. They're very aware of this idea. Square uses geofencing. When you walk into a store and Pay with Square pops up and says you're taken care of, there's a great feeling to that. The watch, you never take off. You might take the phone out of your pocket. You might take the laptop out. But you're always wearing, and somebody said in the chat room, I think this is probably good, let's not call it a watch. That's really not, that's a misnomer. Let's call it the iBand. Because really what it is.
The iPhone, right?
Yeah,
the
it's not about the time. Watch focuses on what time is it. It's not that. It is the thing you always wear. It knows where you are.
And it's an easy way to let consumers understand what it is, though. Right. Like calling it an iPhone when the phone is just an icon on the screen. Yeah.
But it limits our thinking as to what it could be.
Well, I'm really curious with
I don't think Apple would create a product that doesn't do anything in and of itself. So even if they just had to put like a cheap 2-cent LCD on it that gives you the time of day, they would definitely have it do something. And they do it a lot cooler than that, but they would have to at least tell you the time.
One of the things I'm really curious about is when you think about things like AirPlay, being able to have stuff on your watch that you can then then all your screens become something that are accessible. So you're not really so you have a screen, but you're not you have something that can tie into those screens.
That's what we were talking about last time, Alex, with iOS in the car is basically bidirectional AirPlay. So no longer it's just a projection, but it's actually the interface gets put on a different screen, and you can start thinking about iOS anywhere, not just iOS in the car.
Right.
Kurok says we should call it the iShackle.
One thing that's interesting is
iCuff.
That might, then from Apple's point of view, that might really be more of what they're looking for.
The interesting thing to me is we spent so many years trying to get just the basic handsets up to a point where they were functional. We spent years investing in making the platform great and building things to make the platform good. And now the platform is finally so good that the platform is being used to lift everything else up. And it took Apple a long time to get the iOS hardware to the point where they can make iOS 7. And now once that's done, they can start evolving their software, and that will let them do all these different things like iOS in the car and things going forward, which then increases the entire scope of the mobile devices we have everywhere. Right. It's like an exciting time period we're going into.
Yeah. And I do think that you get impatient when, as soon as you install one Hue light, you immediately are annoyed that you can't control every light in your house.
We were talking about this before the show. How many Hues do you have now?
I don't want to talk about it.
Okay, and I've got 9, and Renee has 8.
I got 3 on me right now.
And so we've all fallen in love with these. And just for people who don't know, these are LED lights created by Philips that you control via Wi-Fi on your Hue app on your iPhone.
And just the idea that you can't control them, is just annoying. And
you want all your lights to be.
Well, you want everything in your house.
Net aware. I agree.
I'm like, I want to warm up my Nespresso, so I want to be able to click on my watch and just go. I
do that with my Nest. I turn the thermostat up and down. I want to be able to unlock the door. Schlage and a number of make companies are doing that.
You got to make sure everyone's involved. And when I first got the Nest, my wife went crazy because the Nest was only connected to my phone. And so every time I left, it would go down to 55 degrees, and then I come back and it would warm up.
That's the nuclear weapon in the historical wife versus husband.
Oh my God!
She almost tore that thing off.
You thought it was bad fighting over the remote.
And then, here's the worst part. It was at the exact same time our heater went bad. And it was just by happenstance. It turned out to be a bad filter or whatever. But the problem is she still blames the Nest.
Yeah.
No, she still blames the Nest.
Nest.
Like, it wasn't
the Nest broke the heater.
It was great.
That's the thing that's interesting is the device dependency now. When my iPhone is in charge, I can't change my lights. My Google Chromecast is a lot less valuable if I leave my phone in the car and I have to go down and get it or run out of batteries. So all these devices that are satellites are now utterly dependent on that one limited battery life device in your pocket.
I have to admit, because of that, I've really thought about it. I would really prefer an iPhone that was twice as thick, that would last
iPhone Max
3 or 4 times longer. I mean, it would not bother because I have a battery on it almost the whole time anyway. You might as well just give me a nice thick one with a huge battery. Just a huge battery on the back and twice as thick, and it'll be fine.
48 hours.
48 hours. That would be amazing.
Well, if you think about it, then maybe this is why Mansfield's on the job. The hardware challenges of an iBand are significant.
Crazy.
Battery life, flexibility,
durability,
touchscreen
that you're going to bang into all the time.
Are you going to put a fingerprint reader or other biometrics into it, or what kind of health monitors you're going to put into that? This is a very This is probably the most sophisticated thing Apple's ever made.
Yeah. I have a friend who I won't name, but they're a healthcare professional, and they can't pull their phone out of the pocket to glance at text messages, even if they're urgent. But when they have a Pebble now, and they can just quickly glance at it while they're with a patient, and it doesn't look rude, doesn't look like they're checking their phone, but if there is an emergency, they're aware now of what's going on around them, and it makes a huge difference just to project notifications from your pocket onto your wrist.
I really want this all to be wetware. It's really should just all be, and this is one of the things that Glass actually does very smart. They have that bone conductance speaker. Right. You hear it, and it's surprisingly clear, but nobody can hear it.
Right.
And I just think, please drill a hole in my skull. I don't care.
I'm ready.
I'm ready. I will be the first wearer.
Scott Bourne. I remember like in Seattle with Scott, and he was like, he had applied somewhere actually for someone to put like a 232, like an RS-232 in his head, and I was like, you might want to wait until that.
Yeah, that seems a little premature.
But Scott was thinking that far out.
I want a serial port.
Or whatever,
it's good he didn't get it.
I want a serial port.
I have USB 2 in my head. No, you're out of date now.
I've gotten 3. I'm waiting for Thunderbolt 2.
You don't want to know where the Scuzzy Terminator goes.
Yeah, so really but truthfully, that's the end point, right? That's where we're headed. Yeah. And it's not in our lifetime, but that's where we're headed. No, you're younger than me. But I think it's not my lifetime, I'm sure. But I do think that that's where we want to do. What we want to do is we ultimately want to internalize the intelligence. We want an internet-connected brain.
I think
connected to all of our internet-connected devices.
Well, I think that we slowly want to keep on adding what we do in reality, and then we're going to just start creating virtual reality that looks like just like the reality.
Well, that's what happened. We're in that one already. That happened. We forgot. Don't you remember?
I think it's just the opposite. I think the ultimate goal is to cause our technology to retreat so far back that now we are not a nation of people who are looking at something on a watch or taking out a phone in a pocket or anything like that. That there's just a tiny little almost like an actual pebble inside your pocket that just simply does a little bit of a pulse and say that, oh, by the way, there was something going on that you told me you wanted to be informed about. This is the point at which, if you want to distract yourself away from what you're writing or what you're doing, this is the time at which you want to look at that electronic device.
I want voices in my head. And I want to be able to talk to them back, but maybe not out loud. But that's what you want, right?
Right.
I want to say, hey, Leo, your mom called. Oh, yeah. And because you're busy. By the way, this is exactly that Knowledge Navigator video John Scully made.
Right.
Leo, your mom called, and I knew you were busy doing MacBreak Weekly, so I said, Mom, Leo loves you, and he's going to call you as soon as he can.
I can't do that, Leo.
And then I'll say, thank you, Hal.
No,
that's why.
What you really do is you walk up to someone and it goes, and you just hear the little voice says, "Bob."
Yes.
Hi, Bob.
Yes.
Ask about Asking about Joan.
It's Jarvis from Iron Man. That's what we all want, is that Jarvis system from Iron Man.
Right, we want Jarvis.
After you're wearing glass for about a month, it really occurred to me that if someone made a really decent bone conductive like Bluetooth headset, where something like what you're wearing right now, Leo, where it's really difficult for someone to tell that you're wearing an earpiece, but I don't want something to go inside my ear. I just want it can hang off of my ear, be hidden by the back of it, so that I can walk, I can talk, nobody knows I'm wearing this. Also, my actual ear canal is open so that I can be walking through taking this wonderful nature walk and be hearing the birds without anything impeding that. And just simply has the ability to, again, put a little bug in my ear and say, "Oh, by the way, you wanted to know that the Darth Vader ceramic mug that's auctioned on eBay is about to expire. So you wanted me to tell you that." And also a microphone where you could simply say, where is the memorial to George Robert Shaw inside this park? And from the context, it will tell you that it can tell you where you are, and will simply say that it is down this path and to the right.
You are right in front of it. Without having to take your eyes off throat, like a throat mic. I don't know if you've ever used the throat mic, but with a throat mic.
I've seen World War II movies.
Oh, okay. But if you had one, so if you had a mic here and a bone conductor there.
This is the Esteem hearing aid. I haven't used this, but I've heard many people talk about this. This is a implant that goes in under your. It's a subdermal, and the sound goes in the ear, and the subdermal implant is actually interacting via wires with your cochlea. Nobody can see it. It's just taking information from your eardrum and helping you process it.
Cybernetics.
Yeah. Now that exists. That's
for people with hearing difficulties.
Certain kinds of hearing difficulties, not all, obviously.
I'm just not sure that anybody would. I think that we're 2 generations away from anybody being welcoming that as a consumer product, as a voluntary device. I'm sorry, not to suggest that a hearing assisted device isn't voluntary, but you know what I mean. Where that my ears are functioning perfectly fine. I want to have surgery to have something that tinkers with that, because I want my gadget to be able to talk to me.
I'll take it. Where is it?
I think you're going to need to already. I don't know. Already, we're seeing the first disasters of the Black Hat Con. People are going to be showing off ways of honing the control systems inside cars, and essentially causing the steering wheel to jerk to the left, or to slam on the brakes, or to turn off the brakes entirely remotely. A lot of people are going to have to become have a different relationship with technology before they'll trust something that's implanted inside
even
their
more
body
to the point, there was going to be a presentation at Black Hat on hacking pacemakers.
Yeah.
But, remember in the early days, one of the reasons we have security flaws in desktops and we don't have it so much in mobile is because desktops were designed before these were real threats.
Right.
And the mobiles, they knew about it, and so they're much more secure. And I think the medical implant devices, they're going to be aware of it. It's not so hard to make it.
But it's also, I don't know. This may be a rat hole, but it's been on my mind that as annoyed as I am about the idea of law enforcement has been routinely saying that, well, continuing we're tracking someone because of the location from a phone. We believe this is no different than having someone on the ground observing this person, so that we don't need a warrant. But at least I have the ability to leave this phone at home or pull out the battery, because this is a thing with a replaceable battery. If they simply say that, well, you know what, because there's a diagnostic mode on this pacemaker that allows a doctor within 4 feet with the right device to sense its proximity, we're going to essentially put that technology in our surveillance devices. And now, of course, it's perfectly okay for us to simply say that because we were able to detect the presence of this person's pacemaker implanted inside their body, a device they really don't have the option of taking it out or turning it off or shielding it, and asserting that they don't need a warrant for that sort of stuff. These are the sort of things that are going to keep coming up and coming up and coming up. So I'm not sure that and what happens when you get that sort of implant, and once again, a future court decides that a police officer does not need to have a warrant to get access to the audio feed that's coming in through your ears. It seemed ridiculous 20 years ago that cops would have the ability to simply have that to GPS track anybody without asserting a warrant for the need for that information. But now it's happening in certain jurisdictions, and man, a lot of stuff is going to have to change. A lot of stuff is going to have to be addressed before the good stuff can happen. That's what annoys me so much about how slowly technology can develop. If we were able to build whatever we wanted to build beyond our wildest dreams, we could create that utopia. But there's always going to be some individual bad person, good intentioned person, or other agency that can screw it all up and make this impossible to adopt on a wide-scale basis. So,
well, on that note, we're going to move on.
Now let's turn on to an advertiser.
Yeah, you know who would love to know everything you're up to?
But I think that,
this word from the FBI.
Well, the funny thing is, we just had this kind of a run-in with this in Rwanda. Chris Marler,
who's moved there.
Who's moved there. Someone stole his iPad and an iPhone. And they turned off the iPhone, forgot to turn off the iPad. And so at 2:00 in the morning, he, along with the security team,
that's where private security really helps.
Yeah. So it turned out it turned out once more on the security guards. Anyway, so
it was one of the guards.
We didn't know, but it was one of those things like they just given up on it. But he's stolen a couple of other things, and so there's a story on Chris. If you go to Chris Marler on G+, he wrote it up. But
he got it all back?
We're talking about it this morning. So they literally are in the middle of some little township in outside of Kigali with an iPad. And like they're following around, like, and they get right to where the two dots are on top of each other, and there's Chris, there's a Rwandan sitting there with an iPad, and there's 12 guys with billy clubs, and they hit the ring, and he hears the ring, like you can hear the ring in the house, and something. Guy comes running out, and boom, and suddenly they're chasing after him, and they got him. He didn't get hurt. It's Rwanda. It's not other countries, and so he, they arrested him, but it was funny. It was like the guy's calling. Evidently, Chris said the guy's calling. He's like, "We got him." He's like talking to his boss, and he goes, "Yes, we use the Mzungu tracking." Because they had never, it took him a while to, she was explaining it to me this morning. He said it took a while to explain to them what was happening, that on his iPad it was beaconing. I can see the other iPad. Yeah. But what it was, but now it's been termed in Rwanda as Mzungu tracking.
Mzungu. What does that mean?
Mzungu is it's a term for white people in Swahili.
What you saying? It's honky tracking.
It is. That's actually a pretty even. That's a pretty even term.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny. We got the Ophe tracker is turned on. Turned on. Oh, that is funny.
Please use the shine refracting that they pick up on, but
you got the honky tracker? Yeah, I do. Okay, turn it on. Wow.
So anyway, so the thing is that
somebody called me, by the way, on the radio show and said my son's iPhone was stolen, and should we track it down? I said absolutely not. What if the guy has a gun? What if it's
you shouldn't track it down. You were
and then I don't think the police. If you go, that's why private security force is more effective.
Yeah.
If you went to the NYPD and said, "Hey, I know where my phone is. Would you go get it?"
Right.
I think they might not.
Get out of here.
What are you talking? I'm working here. So I don't know, but maybe the NSA would be the right people to call.
They already know.
They already know where your phone is.
Well, there's been people who have tracked it down and then being able to tell the police exactly who it is. The funniest one is when you can control the computer and then you can take pictures of the people. And,
the Cracker Tracker.
Yeah, that was.
There's the name. The Cracker Tracker. Thank you, chat room.
I would prefer a Mzungu tracker. That's all I'm saying.
I like. You're going to run out and trademark
Mzungu,
that.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we will talk about hacking and the Dev Center hack, which has been resolved, but the question remains lingering.
Right.
What are the long-term impacts of all of this? Our show today brought to you, and by the way, we got a great panel. Thank you so much, Andy Anako from the Chicago Sun-Times. He's got his monitor over his left shoulder, and Renee Ritchie from imore.com. He's got his monitor over his right shoulder.
I lack squirrel. No squiddle.
What is on your monitor?
I have iOS 7's multitasking.
Where did you get a picture of that?
Apple.com.
Oh, okay. Then it's all right. That's legit. I like it. Were you inspired by Andy, or you just thought?
I needed it for other things, and I figured that Andy was using it so well, I would try to pay homage to him.
Yeah. What kind of monitor are you using? Is that 30, 27?
Like Apple stores, I'm using a Samsung.
Really?
Yep.
He uses Samsung in the Apple stores?
For the Apple TV demos and for when they make those giant iPhone monitors. And
things. Yeah, they have to use a big TV. Until they get the Apple TV out.
Yeah.
Also here from Pixel Corp, a second week in a row. I'm blown away.
It's crazy.
I love it. Alex Lindsay.
I'll be gone next week.
Where are you going next week?
I'll be in Boston.
Boston.
You'll be where?
Yes,
around,
Andy.
In what city will you be in?
I will be in Boston. We should talk.
Well, unfortunately, I'm going to be in Waltham, and that's like 11 miles away.
Right.
But next time, definitely though. Definitely.
All right. There we go.
I mean, I could drive, but I mean, that's like what?
Can you take the MTA to Waltham?
Quarter gallon.
So you should just work on the project with us, Andy. We're looking. We actually are looking to go to Boston.
I enjoy projects.
All right. This one's fun.
Is it like? Did you buy like the big, like huge, like Lego Millennium Falcon? You need people to help you put it together.
All I can say is at the end of it, you usually end up with something to eat.
I also like something to eat. My favorite style of cuisine is complimentary.
Yes.
Our show today brought to you by Smile Software. They do such great programs. I'm a huge Text Expander fan, and every time I get a new Mac or a new iOS device, I always install PDF Pen. PDF Pen 6 is new. It's all powerful. Sign a contract without printing it or faxing it. It's really nice. I have my signatures and my initials of everybody in my family in my library in PDF Pen. I can just stamp it, and it's signed. You can edit PDFs without going back to the original document. You can even create and fill out forms, add images, fix typos, resize or delete images. It gives you full control over PDFs. It is just amazing. You can even OCR scan documents. If you do anything with PDFs, seriously, I know Preview is great, but you need PDF Pen. See what's new in the PDF Pen 6. Download a free demo at smilesoftware.com/MacBreak. Smilesoftware.com/MacBreak. PDF Pen. Look how cool that looks. It is really amazing. When if you're buying a house, they still fax you stuff.
Oh, I gotta sign PDFs all the time. I just did it yesterday.
Yeah.
Just open up your iPad. Woo-hoo.
Yeah, it's so much. Yeah, on the iPad, it's awesome. It's just so much easier. PDF Pen, Mac and iOS. Get it, use it, enjoy it. Thank you, Smile Software. Thank you, Jean McDonald. By the way, her Dev Camp for Girls got funded. She did it. Let me just check and see. I think she did it last month. Her idea being to get girls writing software, which is such a great idea. Let me see if I got it right here. Jean McDonald App Camp. That's what it was called. appcampforgirls.com. And
that makes me really happy. I was kind of okay with only 49% of the population at age 11 being able to outprogram me. Now the other 51%, and the more focused and mature 51%. Okay, great. I'm totally hosed now.
So cool. They say inspiring tomorrow's creative software developers. Here's some of the pictures of some of the girls at App Camp. I just think it's a really, really neat idea.
Yeah,
fantastic. And they're continuing to look for support, so you can go help them out. appcamp4girls.com.
That was from the Kickstarter. She
kickstarted it.
Yep. Indiegogo.
Or Indiegogo? Yeah, that's right. Jean is just a really wonderful person. She works, of course, she's one of the partners at Smile Software. That's made me think of it. I just think that's so cool. Every kid should go to App Developer Camp. That's a cool tool. Did you see that? It was like a widget tool.
Yeah, I have one of those here.
Yeah.
They sold them for a while. Let you make your iOS layouts.
Look at that.
Oh, that's cool.
Isn't that a great idea?
Spend your summer camp time making friendship apps instead of friendship bracelets.
Much better than GIMP. This is from UI Stencils. What a neat idea. UIstencils.com. They have iPhone, website, iPad, Android tablet, Android Donut, Windows 8, Windows Phone, Google Chrome stencil.
I'm just so afraid of paper now.
I know, this is very old school.
I was like, but I'll lose it.
It's so old school, but what a good way to do it.
Field notes do not back up to Dropbox.
Last week I added something to my work setup that is a pad of note paper and a decent pen. And the number of times where I instead of having to wait for the spinning beach ball so I could write down something that someone is telling me during an interview is or I could just actually jot that down. Oh,
I know.
I just think it's funny how often we suddenly need a pen to draw on something and no one has one. Like everyone's like, I don't have a pen that actually makes.
Like Andy, I have the notebook, but I photograph every page that I work on because I'm paranoid about backups.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So these guys, they're making these nice metal stencils, and they said, what else could we do with metal? And they've started a new company called Lux Plates, where they are. Look at this! I want this for my iPhone. Look at that! It looks like a Leica L5 on the back of your iPhone.
It costs
they're not even that expensive.
It's $33, and it's metal. It's nice.
Protect the back of your for all those who thought they really should have given you a metal back.
You could have a dog tag so people could actually get your phone back to you without having to track them down using the Cracker Tracker.
Zungu Tracker. Zungu Tracker.
An engraving plate for, let's say, like a $10 bill. So if you ever you're caught without cash, you can just print your rubbing
own. Well, they've kind of got that. This is for if you play a lot of poker, you can just print your own aces.
If you had enough phones, you could play.
52 phones.
That has to be they should have to do the Penn and Teller edition. It's the 3 of clubs. So at the end of every trick was this your card.
That's, by the way, that was right there. That's an example of why the internet is the biggest productivity killer in the history of the world. I got 4 links deep before I finally caught myself. Ibrahim Balic, fella who was the first to publicize the App Center hack. Balic is an independent security researcher. He told Apple there's a problem with your dev center and downloaded credentials for 100,000 people just to prove it.
Right.
Apple got a little miffed. But immediately, their immediate response was to take I remember we talked about this, the iOS Dev Center down.
Right.
It came back after 8 days. Apple said, we had to rewrite everything, redo our database, everything. He says, look, it was just a proof of concept. I immediately told Apple. The real question, and I have to say, I saw somebody showed me, and I don't know whether it's real or not, but we had a visitor here from a foreign land, not Balic, but somebody I think who knew him, who showed me logs that showed Apple certificates, dev certificates, the root certificates. And he says he got the root certificates, or not, so whoever hacked it got the root certificates. Now, that would be a much more significant flaw. And we'll know if that happened because Apple will have to send out new certificates. And we'll have to refresh the entire App Store.
Oh man,
it was really complicated. And Nick Arnott, our security writer, interviewed him because it was such a nebulous story to begin with.
Right.
And it turns out that he didn't. The original hack, he filed a bunch of radars with Apple in their bug tracker, and some were for iAd Workbench, which is a different system, and some of it was for the dev portal. And Apple took it down, but we don't know if it's because of him, because some of the stuff he filed was after Apple took it down.
Right.
He got a bunch of addresses, and the Guardian went and looked at some of the addresses and they weren't valid or they didn't return anything. So it's nebulous, but he did find ways into there, which could suggest that, either Apple was alerted by him or Apple found out that there were other people using similar exploits. But it was serious enough that Apple took the entire thing offline and kept it offline for a long time.
Electronic Arts quarterly results came out last week, and it reported shock that it made more money through Apple's App Store than through its own or Origin digital download service or any other retailer. That in-app purchases and app sales were the most profitable part of their business for the first time ever. They have racing games, Real Racing 3. They have The Sims Free Play. But it may well be the game that's hooked me for the last 8 months. The Simpsons Tapped Out. I swear it's a bad addiction. It launched in August of last year, so it's been almost exactly a year. They had server problems. They took it down, put it back up. That's when I joined. It made more money in the last 3 months, the three-month quarter ending June 30th, than in any other quarter. Real Racing 3 generated 45 million downloads, about 2 million daily active users. The Sims Free Play, one of the highest grossing games on the iPad. They made $90 million on smartphones and tablets. They don't say how much from iOS, how much from Android. $10 million in the month of June on Simpsons Tapped Out, $50 million total. It makes more money for them than their $60 console games. This is huge and a real good example of the shift to mobile gaming.
Yeah, and one of the things that happens with all of these things, just like whether it's people going from MySpace to Facebook or from digital projection on theaters or whatever, once you reach that point where suddenly people are going, we're making more money over here, then all that investment, all the safe money starts going that direction.
Right.
And once that safe money is, I don't see how consoles, continue 10 years from now, just because I think we're going to be expecting our phones to be able to do that, which are going to be almost as powerful at that point.
Also, look at the mechanism of purchase. Like, you don't have to go somewhere and buy a $60 physical thing.
I literally have zero interest in a console.
Yeah. You take the device that you already have in your pocket or in your bag. You go to a website. You download a free app. And then just keeps finding ways to get $120 from you instead of $60.
Well, that's the key.
It's like you have the what the hell, why not sort of reaction that you don't have with a $60 console.
That's the key. It's freemium is really proven to be a very good model.
Yeah,
where the game is free, and they just charge you for upgrades and improvements.
Well, and even $1, $2, $3. I mean, all of those things are just easy. I mean, it's that maybe that's a better game on the console, but I can play this one while I'm standing in line. Right. And that's the
console, by the way, is moving towards non-physical media as well. Both the Xbox One and PlayStation 4 are really emphasized.
Would you have spent as much on Simpsons up front as you spent on it in an app over the history?
Oh hell, I've spent $300 on this game.
Right.
It's not a $300 game. I would never. I hate to even admit that. It's shameful.
Right.
But I did it in bits and pieces. And
but see, the point is that. But the one thing that I'll say is that
would you pay $300 for any game?
Right, but
ever? No.
Here's a great thing. I spent
Humans, maybe.
I spent $300 on Tempest a long time ago. But what I mean by that is
family pinball. It might have been in the 3 years.
Oh, I easily dropped $300 in quarters. Yes, right.
So
you're absolutely right. On Battlezone.
Breathing a lot less cigarette smoke at home.
Mortal
Tron.
Kombat.
But I think that what's interesting about that is that it's much easier for us to spend money on something that, because we're using it. The reason we're upgrading it is because we're actually enjoying that time. Rather than up front spending $60 to see if we like it or not.
I love it.
Yeah,
it's soothing. I play it every day. Probably, which is the worst admission. How much money I've spent or how much time? Because I've probably spent half an hour a day on that thing over the last year.
Right.
I could have written a novel.
Right.
Slot machines at the casino.
But if you're writing a novel, that would have been work. And a kid years ago, a kid was trying to explain Guitar Hero to me, and just came with a line that was so brilliant, and I've just reflected upon it so many times in the past that you don't understand. Yes, I could be spending this time learning to play real guitar, but I'm not here. I'm not investing this hour to learn anything.
Right.
I learn things I'm here to have fun and do things that are not productive, that are just lights flashing and sounds playing, and my hands doing cool things with a plastic controller.
And I think you almost could argue that I bought the Nexus 7 specifically to play The Simpsons Tapped Out.
I have a
so add that to the overall cost.
Well, but I also think that when we think about games and music, I mean, to get back to the guitar, Guitar Hero is when. What happens when we start just playing games that are the actual instrument? I mean, when you look at some of the stuff that
well, and that's what Rock Band did, didn't they? They added real instruments,
or that is the instrument. Like what you're playing, what you're learning how to play. Is actually something that when you're not playing the game, you could just go about on your iPhone or on your iPad and just play that.
Maybe we're moving towards
We're seeing.
Go ahead.
We're seeing more of a game interface than so many other things too. Like the HTC One phone has that mode where it will just simply take the video and the pictures that you happen to have collected and produce its own supercut movie.
Yeah.
And when it's one of the other things that I've been noticing with Google Glass is that I don't like. I spent you and I both went on that Mac Geeks cruise around Asia. Brought a really good camcorder. I probably shot maybe 10 minutes of video because I just don't like walking around like this, shooting camera.
Like an Asian tourist in Asia. Yeah.
Okay, I'm not going to say what defines a tourist. If you're, I was a tourist at Mount Auburn Cemetery on Sunday because yes, I'm from around here, but never. Okay, anyway. But
you're right. That's right. Yeah.
But the ability to simply press a button and say that's kind of an interesting scene of people and things moving around. Click. I've got now 10 seconds of video, and then over the course of a month, now I have like all kinds of things in my library of nice little video clips. If they were to create a gamify video editing that simply said, here is here's what this game created for you, and now your fun time is to make this better or to enhance the focus on a certain person or place or an individual. It's the real power of computing isn't when people like Alex have the tools to in one $3,000 computer to produce and visualize and affect and stream huge movies. It's when people who have no interest in video are now empowered to do that because it's fun. All the technical stuff has been cluttered out of the way, and now you can simply look at this thing this app has given you and said, wouldn't it be, I really want to see more focus on mom. And then because it knows who mom is, you simply say, have a slider for mom. Okay, slider up on mom. There you go. Now there's more mom here.
Yeah.
That's all this video needed. A little, the color was a little cooler. I want to make that warmer, and I also wanted more mommy.
More mommy. That's what Google Plus has done. I think not to bring it back to Google, but Google. One of the reasons I use Google Plus more is because of the photo. This is so somebody took 7 or 8 pictures of me walking the catwalk, and Google automatically turned it into an animated GIF with Camera Awesome. Now, admittedly, this is incredibly stupid, but the fact that it did it automatically and it kind of happened is kind of fun.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Apple got the guy who made the Quake 3 tournament physics engine to build the basis of the new iOS. I mean, that's a full particle and physics engine, and they did that for a reason. And, I think we're going to see more. Because people say gamification, they say it in a bad way. They're trying to take money from you.
Life should be fun.
They're creating delight, and that's the tenet now of most mobile operating systems. They want to delight their users.
By the way, I got a message from my cup of coffee this morning that I should focus more on Apple during the show today. Can you show the cup of coffee? That was creepy. That was weird.
That was
no. It says that you need to write a new Peach Pit book.
Oh, that's what it is. It's a peach.
Yes.
I'm showing, for those who are listening at home, I'm showing a picture of
Jedi Steve Jobs is not happy, Leo.
I've never been able to do, I really would love to do the foam art that some of those baristas do. I don't even try. It's impossible. I mean, I have a great espresso machine, and so I just poured it in, but somehow it came out as an apple. And so maybe now I'm thinking I have a future in espresso art.
Yes.
But I think what you're saying, Andy, and I think this is right, is that life should be fun. It should be a joy. It should be full of serendipitous surprises and pleasures. And that's what an iPhone should do. And that's what Apple's always going for, right?
Right.
Yeah. And getting back to what we were talking about earlier on, one of Apple's challenges is that, hands down, they are the kings of user experience. You can argue about what features a certain phone has and what you can do with a certain operating system that you can't do with a certain other operating system, but hands down, iOS provides the most elegant and beautiful and rewarding user experience anywhere out there. Unfortunately, though, that's not something you can really communicate easily. That's an experience, and you can share pictures of a restaurant's food, and you can write a review of a restaurant's food, but a user is not going to understand it until they actually taste it. Similarly, the advantages of the iOS platform aren't something that people are going to really understand until they actually try one for more than 25 minutes inside an Apple store. I'm talking about carrying it around in their pocket. Right. So that's why, when Nokia comes out with like this peer review.
Oh, you got the 1020. Ooh.
Oh yeah, that's one of the things that actually was also. I was really impressed. That was one of the reasons why I was at Mount Auburn to take some final pictures with it.
Literally final at the graveyard.
Yeah, before jumping off the tower. No.
Ouch.
And no, so there's this beautiful like high tower that gives you like beautiful panoramic views of the entire city from up there. And of course, had that one thing. I'm just taking pictures with this, and this guy said, "Oh, is that the new Nokia phone with that really huge sensor?"
Wow.
I'm like, "Oh man,
nuts."
the PR companies, the word is getting out about other phones."
Yeah.
But they're not. If I had out like an iPhone 5 that had the beta of iOS 7, people would not be saying, "Oh, is that the new iOS with the translucency and the multi-layered operating system?" Like, yes. Wow, I've heard so much. No, it's an experience that you're going to have to. It's not a buzz marketing worthy sort of thing. So that's Apple's going to have to spend as much time on messaging as on anything else.
This is one of Andy's images. The color in that, the resolution, the detail.
That's the reason why.
That's an SLR quality photo. That's amazing.
And this too behind me is one of the first photos I shot with it. It's like
that's zoomed. That's a crop.
That is simply zoomed inside the camera. That's a digital zoom version of it, and you wouldn't really know that it had been digital zoom had been applied. And yeah, it really is remarkable. It's one of those occasions in which I did delay my review for several days because the first draft was like, oh my God, I can't believe this camera is the most awesome camera. Like, there's nothing this camera can't do. And I had to think, okay, that means, Andy, we got to spend the next 4 days trying to break this. We have to basically try to make this screw up and try to humiliate this camera and say, no, you aren't all that. You are simply a phone camera, and I will take horrible pictures with you. Just watch me.
Couldn't do it, huh?
Couldn't do it.
Best looking selfie I've ever seen, by the way. The lighting on that was gorgeous.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and I've said
that's not the selfie, by the way. That's
not the selfie, but that also.
That's a squirrel.
You'll see it in my review, which will land tomorrow. I finally finished it yesterday. I'm all excited. Okay, great. So it'll be up tomorrow morning. And then I realized, oh no, now I have to like get photos out of my Aperture library and do so. Damn it! And so that's why it's gonna be delayed today. But this picture is like, well, it's almost like an all-in-one demonstration of why this camera phone is so good, because number one, it could not have been captured. It could not have been captured without the flash. That froze the motion and illuminated what was going to be a backlit subject. Number two, this is actually like 1/4 the size of the full frame, and it's angled like this because I was walking around with this camera in my hand. I had a bag of sunflower seeds in the other hand in the public garden, and squirrel. If you knows what a bag of sunflower seeds knows the gait and attitude of a human who has seeds and food to give to squirrels. So sometimes you'll see this, but as soon as you see the squirrel will like drop down, but it just whipped around with the camera, squoze the shutter, bang, locked focus, got that picture. So this is a 1/4 the size of the full frame. Wow. That's also been rotated this way, and you would never know that anything weird had been done with that.
That's really what they're saying. The promises of it. Very rarely will you want all 41 megapixels, but you can crop and zoom because there's plenty of extra space.
And this is why. I'm sorry to circle it back to iPhone. This is why I keep saying that I really don't want Apple to make thinner anything. You can do that because they decided to make a phone that was thicker in the middle there.
Right.
And if anybody has been complaining about the design of this, you're stupid. I mean, the thinness of a phone is not a feature of it, but the ability to take superlative photos. Because oh my God, who can carry a phone that is this thick? That's crazy talk. A phone that's this thick.
Although I got to point out, Nokia did take great pains to make that much lighter than the previous Lumia 928. So maybe they're saying maybe we can't make it thinner, but at least we can make it lighter. I mean,
yeah, I mean, but I think that it's a problem when you want to make sure that style does not trump function.
I agree,
and sometimes I think that happens. Yeah. Although again, this is another part of Apple's problems in messaging. The iPhone 5 camera is not to me not quite as impressive as the camera that's in this Lumia, but it's still one of the greatest cameras you can buy. It's clearly it's sort of like the. I'm sorry. If the Lumia is number one, iPhone 5 is a close number 2, and number 3 is pretty far down beyond that. Right. And the reason why is not because they have a sensor that has 41 megapixels or a lens and a image sensor that's this big. It's because they have a custom digital signal processor that is incredibly good at what it does.
Software is everything at this point.
Right. And so it's not something that you have to show people photos of it, but you don't have that, oh, by the way, the iPhone 6 has a 68 megapixel sensor that's the size of the size of $0.25 bill. It's about the size of a frame of medium format film, and it can if you aim it at the right side of the planet, you'll get a beautiful crop down picture of exactly what you wanted. You can't simply say, "Oh, digital signal processing is what makes it such a great camera."
Captain Murphy says now you have to write an automator script to import your SkyDrive photos into your iOS photo stream.
Exactly.
Probably doable.
Services.
Probably doable. Let's see. Anything else we want to talk about before we get to our tips of the week? I'm just looking at the rundown that Chad Johnson prepared for us, all the great stories. You did mention that the worker group that is alleging abuses at Pegatron in China. I'm sure we'll hear more about that. Apple worker. This is the strangest story I ever heard of. Apple workers file a lawsuit saying they lost wages. This is employees at Apple stores in New York and Los Angeles because Apple required them to stand in line for up to 30 minutes every shift to wait for a manager to search their bags. They want $1,500 a year in unpaid wages. They're searching for stolen merchandise, shoplift merchandise.
Sorry, when I see these, I'm just like, I don't think that these employees were probably at the top of the of the food chain. Well, I mean, what I mean by that is they probably weren't the highest performers at Apple, and they're no longer working, and they're trying to figure out how to get a little extra money to stretch things out a little bit further.
Although I have to say, if you have to wait 5 to 10 minutes or longer before you can go on break or have lunch,
well, I don't think it's on
because
break.
you're getting your bag searched.
Yeah, I think it was.
It says no. It says. They're being forced to stand around for 5 to 15 minutes every time they clock out for a meal break or leave work at the end of the shift.
I think B&H should have to pay me then.
Do they do that too?
You have to give them your bag. Like you just hand your bag in, and the first time you do it, you get really defensive about it, and the second, after a while, you just go, here you got it.
But that's one of the complaints about the conditions at Amazon fulfillment centers, where you get 30 minutes for lunch, but it's such a big complex that the break place might be a 10-minute walk away, and that counts as part of your lunch break. So 10-minute walk, 5 minutes to heat up your Hot Pocket, and then 5 minutes to eat it before you have to start walking back to be back on time. And that's not fair.
I think it is fair to say, hey, if I have to do something and I want to be paid for the time.
I guess I just wouldn't bring a bag. I mean, if someone was making, I guess
if you're a woman, you bring a purse. I'm sorry, that's normal.
I understand.
I think they can't. I don't think that's reasonable to say, don't bring your purse because it's going to take you a while to get out of here.
Well, I guess I've just left. I left a lot of jobs that I didn't like, and if I don't like the job, I just leave.
Agree.
Just like if that's really that big of a deal, I'm just kind of like, okay,
but there are rules. You got to pay people for the time you require.
That's fine.
It's because people are that low on the totem pole that they need to be protected.
Right.
I understand, but when someone files a class action lawsuit as an employer, if their names ever came up, I'd be like, no.
Yeah. Well, that's a good point. You're never going to get another job.
Just like, no.
Is that legal to ask on an employment form? Have you ever sued a previous employer?
No, you can't ask that.
You should be able to, because that would be good to know.
But when you see it, when the name comes up,
you can't ask that, Lisa. No, Lisa says you can't ask.
I mean, you can't ask that, but I can say if those two names came up, I don't have to look out at it.
You can ask them if they've ever been arrested, but you can't ask them if they've ever sued.
We Google everybody now. I mean, the thing is, we just...
Yeah, so the point is, if you're going to have a class action lawsuit, don't trumpet it on Facebook.
Well, just don't put it on... Just make sure your name's
I won! I'm sure Apple will settle that pretty quickly.
Yeah. Everyone will get free sandwiches.
Free ice sandwiches for all.
Ice sandwiches. We'll take a break. Actually, we don't need to take a break. We can get to our tips right away. Tips, tools, anything you want to share with the world. I think Renee Ritchie's got one already queued up. You fire away, Renee.
My pick of the week is DJ Tune. I have to preface this by saying that I have absolutely no musical talent. I am tone deaf and I cannot keep a beat, and that makes me leery of ever looking at any music-based application. I mean, I can listen to music, but that's about it. But the original DJ was interesting because it was a very tactile, very easy way of, it was like basically skeuomorphic turntables. And what they've done now is they've taken that and they've taken it to an entirely new level. So, for example, you look at the turntable there, and the actual groove marks of the music are superimposed there. So if you're somebody who's an old-school DJ, and you were used to being able to play something according to the grooves on the record album, you can do that again.
You can jump to a cut based on the grooves?
Absolutely. They were nice enough. I saw the guys who made the app, and they were nice enough to give me the complete demo for it.
That's hysterical.
And they showed me that. They also showed me...
And that's, by the way, album art taken from the cut, so... Those graphics are automatically put on the CD.
This next thing that you're on right now, the HD waveforms, Leo, it's amazing. You have a waveform, and they color code it depending on the instrument. So the voice is different than the drums. So if you're trying to look and physically see what part of a song you want to go to, you can quickly find it in the waveform. And not only that, it will divide it. And then all of those squares there are buttons, and you can press those buttons almost like a keyboard to play the song. But there's more. Those little sync buttons on the top will automatically sync the song so that you can jump back and forth without having to be all skillful about it. And what they've managed to do is make something that, for me, it's a fun music player, but they had a bunch of DJs showing off things that they've done with it. And from anyone like a little kid who just wants to play in the back of a car on a road trip to someone who wants to have this next to their analog turntable in a real DJ rig, they've made a phenomenal piece of software, and it works. It's on the iPhone now as well, so you can have one small little table if you just want to mess around or try something or do rough sets and rough cuts, and it goes all the way up to the big iPad, which you can really have one turntable and put it next to your DJ rig and do stuff. And the amount of depth and thought they put into it was, even again, someone with no musical talent I was really impressed with the app. Unfortunately, it's a new app, and Apple does not allow upgrade pricing. So what they did is make it on sale for everybody. So whether you owned it before or you didn't, you can get it, I think, half off for a limited time. But it's well worth the mere pittance that they are charging for it either way.
It was, I think, like $4.99 when they first released it. I don't know if the price has gone up yet.
And the original one won an Apple Design Award. They know their stuff.
So check it out. The price is going to go up if it hasn't already gone up. I haven't. Can you? I can't tell. Can you tell? I can't tell.
I tried to bring it up and it just said bot, and I hate that because
I know you can't. I know, me too. I have to log out. What does it say? $4.99 still. Okay, good deal. First week only. So run and get it now because it's going to go up. I don't know how much it's going to be, but it'll probably be at least $10. It's worth $20.
My friends who are DJ, Mark Edwards, a friend of mine who is a DJ, he was trying it and he fell instantly in love with it. It's a very nice piece of software.
Really sweet. Buy it now while it's cheap, even if you'll never use it. Mr. Lindsay, that was $5. What do you got? You raise us at Alex?
Yeah, so
you're going to back down now on that $15,000 hardware you were going to recommend?
No, it wasn't 15,000.
We've bought, by the way, everything Alex has ever recommended. We've ended up buying.
See.
We have all these sound devices, the Elemental. We have all this crap.
No one believes me, and then you go,
I end up buying it.
It turns out that you'd really like it to work.
I just wish Blackmagic had like a yearly fee. You just have everything they make.
The problem is I need lots of everything they make.
A subscription to the Blackmagic hardware. I want a Blackmagic hardware subscription.
We were talking about becoming a reseller for a company, and they were like, well, you have to have a minimum sale of this much per year. You have to be able to. Do you think you can sell that much? I'm like,
we could buy that.
I was like, we bought that much last month. So
last month.
Yeah. So
last month.
I think it'll be fine.
Have you got the Blackmagic Cinema? Any of these?
No, I'm waiting. I'm waiting.
Thunderbolt
to get them.
Cameras yet?
No, I haven't gotten them yet. I'm really looking at the cinema camera and the 4K camera.
So there's the cinema camera, which uses Micro Four Thirds lenses, which is very cool.
Yep.
That's $3,000. Records in ProRes or via Thunderbolt.
Yep.
And then for $4,000, it'll use the Canon mounts, but it's a 4K camera.
Yes.
So I have a ton of good Canon lenses. I could just pop on there.
Well, I'm really I'm really interested in the 4K camera. They have a studio switcher too, so you can switch in 4K, and then you just need to find So
because you can barely edit in 4K.
Well, but I still think I have this theory. I have a theory that the 4K live revolution is actually going to happen on the web, not because TV and film have already bet on HD,
right?
And so, but it's easy for YouTube or Netflix or Apple or whatever.
For us, YouTube's already
we go to 4K. Right, exactly. So the whole thing is that being able to stream to 4K, you might be able to those crystal clear things. So we're kind of interested. So we're playing around with HD. Anyway, so
I think our next studio will probably be 4K. You're the guy who did 1080p video before anybody. MacBreak, the original MacBreak video.
Yep.
1080p.
3 weeks to do the first episode.
You couldn't edit it. You couldn't watch it. There was no Mac hardware that was powerful enough to play it at a normal frame rate. This wasn't even that long ago.
Right, and we're already starting to expand. We've done a MacBreak in 4K, so we're already we've done one. It was a couple of years ago, and then we decided we were going to wait for a little while longer. The tools weren't quite.
When you're saying $4,000 for a camera, so the cameras we're using now, HD cameras, were about $1,500 each. Right. But we had to add an SDI converter from Blackmagic that was $500 and a special mount. So it's about $2,500 per camera. We're not talking a huge leap to go to 4K.
No, it's Blackmagic has really figured out how to some of the stuff is new like that. A lot of what Blackmagic does is you had a great idea and a bad business model, so we're just going to incorporate this in, and then we'll take the thing that you were selling for $80,000 and we'll sell it for $2. Yeah. And so anyway, so it's
We've talked to the Red guys, said they'd come over. There you go. There's the first 1080p. That was that's 4K. Oh man.
Yeah.
With Sal. So you Sal Segoyan, Mr.
Original
Mr. Apple Script and Automator.
Look at that.
Look at you can see every pore on his forehead. Every hair in his beard.
It turned out capturing the screen at anywhere near 4K was painful. That was the video was actually fine because we shot on a Red. But it was the screen. Dealing with the screen took a lot of many Bothans. Many Bothans died. So but the first time we've done anything like 1080p was a big mess too.
Oh, it was horrible.
It took the reason that if you go back in the early Mac breaks and it says the road to 1080p, The reason there's a road to 1080p is because we were so far behind releasing the first one.
A show, you release shows about how we're making the show.
How we're making the show, and to date, it is still the most viewed MacBreak ever. Was the one where all I did was like, I got to do something. So I opened up Screen Share and just drew on things like, see this. I did
Someday
it in like 5 minutes.
Hope this will work.
Yeah. It's well, of course I sounded very optimistic, which is the job, So anyway, so we're playing with 4K.
What's going to playback though is going to be an issue on 4K, isn't it?
Well, it's going to be an issue. I mean what's happening now
with 1080p?
TVs are going to be, you're going to have $1,000 4K. I mean, every TV sold will be 4K in 2 years.
Right.
I mean, except for the really cheap stuff. But I mean, everything that you see at Walmart.
So then bandwidth is the issue. Delivery becomes the issue.
What you're going to have is a whole bunch of hardware companies and a whole bunch of resellers that are all selling 4K and no one creating content for that. So all of them are going to have really great scalers.
How do you deliver it? Your internet. Oh, squeeze it.
But YouTube is going to go, hey, you can watch 4K on YouTube.
On your Chromecast.
And Apple's
heavily
Apple
compressed.
Will go, yeah, but I mean, it's not that like when you look at H.265 and some of the new compression technologies, it's going to look very, very good. It's going to look as good as 1080p does now at 4K. With the new compression technologies, even the streaming technologies, and so Apple and Google and Amazon and Netflix are all going to be Netflix. I bet you. All their original content within the next year or two is all. If it's not already being shot on 4K, it'll be on 4K, and Netflix will go. You can watch 4K on Netflix,
right.
And
they've already done trials. When we were at CES, much of the 4K content was provided by Netflix.
Right, and so the whole thing is that all the online companies are actually going to be the highest resolution that you can find, and so these little cameras that Blackmagic's creating is like it's kind of the beginning of that that revolution, and it's an interesting thing for a lot of us because just like when HD happened, it was a big deal to everyone wanted to generate content in HD, getting ahead of it, which is Red was obviously way ahead.
I just want to point out, all I do is I stand behind Alex and I watch when he's got it all figured out.
And once the bleeding stops, Leo goes, okay, now we'll make it actually, we'll do lots of it. Yeah, exactly. So anyway,
I don't know if you have a pick. Can I ask you one other thing? Logic Pro 10.
That's my pick.
All right.
So anyway, I will say that I've only done a cursatory. Like I opened some stuff up.
Cursatory?
Cursatory.
It's like a Three Stooges word.
Cursatory.
I did a cursory.
A cursory. Look, it's been a long day. I've already been talking too much.
Were you cursing or was
cursory glance? So I I'm sorry. But cursatory sounds so much better.
It's such a good. I think it's a new word. Cursatory.
So anyway, so the. Cursory glance. So here's the deal. It is just for $200. It is insane.
It is amazing.
It is insane. Like what this does.
32 gigs of loops alone are worth $200.
No, it's and you keep on downloading. Like the thing is, you install it, and they goes, "Would you like to install all the plugins?" It's like another 30 gigs. I mean, it is, and you just keep on downloading from the Apple Store. Like I can't believe they're giving me all these loops and. It runs really well. It's so powerful, and I don't know how. I mean, Apple obviously is what it does is it engages you in the hardware, but it is a, they've really stepped it up. I mean, I didn't feel like I was losing anything from earlier versions. I just felt like it was just a wrapped up interface, and now you can see. As Apple continues to tie all these things together, I get more excited. I have to admit about. The Mac Pro, because that all of these things are being designed to sit on that platform. Then they'll run even faster. And so, I think that I don't usually, I didn't want to say anything until I really got a chance to noodle with it, and I still haven't built a whole project in it. So maybe I'll come back in 2 weeks and go, but I don't even know how you go wrong at $200 for an app that does.
I just did. I just said, well, okay.
An app with that much power, how amazing. You go wrong with a $200, paying $200 to get that is amazing.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, no, I installed it immediately and downloaded 32 gigabytes worth of loops.
I know. You just keep on.
Yeah. It's pretty amazing. Andy Anako, your pick of the week.
My pick of the week is this backpack. I will explain the maker in a minute. 2 features of it that I really like about it. It's big enough to hold a 15-inch notebook, but it is super, super slim, so that if you're not there to if all you need is the notebook and your accessories, you don't have to basically take this huge frickin' backpack with you when you travel. I've been looking for something very much like this for, like, I'm just going to New York for a day or for an overnight. I would like to not have to carry my notebook wherever I go, but this is so it's nice and slim. But the cool thing is that this is made by Cocoon. They're the makers of the Grid-It packing system that I really, I'm sorry, Grid-It? Is that what they call it? Grid-It, thank you. Sometimes like your brain does those unhelpful things. Wait a minute, is that the name of another packing system you stopped using 7 years ago, Andy? I hope not. Anyway, but I love because they're the makers of this system where it's like little like pallets of nothing but like interlocking.
Oh my God! Look at that
web. So
awesome. What
happens? Because the problem when you're packing is that it's not that you have these things, but they get buried inside pockets. With this, you can just take all of your accessories.
Oh, that's wild!
And just simply
anywhere you want. You stick them under the band.
Exactly.
It's just kind of a free form.
Whether they're small.
You need one of those for kids.
I mean. Yeah, exactly.
Kids?
And
you just like
put your kid under there.
Just like on your back.
Like literally everything, and they have lots and lots of stretch to them. So even if you had like a really, really thick and bulky item, like I bet, like here is, like of course I need to have the clips that I use to hold on to my my windows together. And so since they flex and they stretch, they just simply stay right there. And so once you have it all loaded up, essentially you don't have to dig through anything to find whatever cable, whatever adapter, whatever dingus you need. It's
just a pinch.
It's not, but if you had a can of chew, it would be a great place to put it.
Exactly. First of all, we call it chaw.
Chaw, sorry.
You dilettante. But yeah, I mean, and by the way, you can go to Cocoon Technologies. I believe that this
CocoonInnovations.com.
CocoonInnovations.com that has the whole line of products like this. And I've been a big fan of them ever since their main product was what you're looking at right there in the screenshot, which is just these flat like pallets you can then put into any bag because. I have the little iPad bag. I have the slightly larger bag for 13-inch notebooks, and they'll have like a zippered outside pocket, but then you have to empty out the entire pocket because all you need is your earphones, and you can't just get at them. This lets you just get at that one thing.
So you whip the little thing out, and everything. Or in your case, the big thing out, and you got everything is in there.
Exactly. So I'm glad to see that they're now embedding this in like actual laptop cases because that like saves one step. This is the backpack that they sent me. It cost $79.99, but they also have like a really nice 13-inch notebook case that's kind of on this idea. It's not a backpack; it's a regular sort of satchel sort of thing. But again, you unzip a flap and reveal like this entire deck where every single thing you need is nicely organized, or if you keep it nicely organized, that is, and easily accessible. So if you need a backpack, if you need a laptop case, good choice. But even if you don't, if you're happy with the case that you have already, get one of these little pallets because they make them in so many different sizes, and it's not only it doesn't just save you trouble when you're trying to get access to something. When I'm packing, I have a big one that goes on top of my my rollaway. And so, you're packing and it's like an hour before you're going to leave and you think, wait a minute, there's so many times I've taken like three identical USB chargers because I wasn't completely certain that I'd packed one. And so by the time when I get to the hotel, it's like, okay, so you put one in this outside bag, one inside the bag, and another one inside this other pouch because you weren't sure. With this, you simply look at this one little pallet. Yep, there's my USB charger. Don't need another one. I'm good.
So you can get bags, but I'm thinking I want to put this in my carry-on.
Yeah, exactly.
Just one of these. I'll have to measure it and figure out what the inside is like because I could just, when I get on the plane, just pop it in. I'll get one for you too. Because I was going to mention, and this is a little more expensive than your Grid-It, but I've been, I've got a trip coming up, and I've been looking for the perfect carry-on bag, and I see people with roller bags for their carry-ons, and I regret not having that. I have a lot of laptop bags because you check in, you get rid of your heavy luggage, but then you have to carry around this bag for the rest of the time. And if it's got your laptop and your iPad and your camera and a bunch of other stuff,
my measurement of my backpack is that it's too heavy if I can't feel my hands after 45 minutes.
So I went to Briggs & Riley, and they sell very nice stuff. I'm a big fan. and got their roller carry-on. Now they have one that's small enough to fit into like even the commuter jets, which you could put like a roll of lifesavers in that luggage carrier up there. And it's not 4 wheels, it's 2. Although it looks like they have a 4-wheel one as well here.
Don't do it.
What?
Don't get the 4 wheels.
Get the 2-wheel. Yeah. And it's got a really cool. Let me see if I can. I don't know if this is the one the rolling cabin bag. I think it is. And then it also it fits under the seat, but also instead of being like a laptop bag, when it opens up, it's just a big bag that you can put clothes in, and then it has a laptop pouch in the front. So I'm thinking if I put the Grit-It inside there to hold my stapler.
Yeah. You carry a stapler around a lot.
Well, you need a stapler.
Because if you leave the red swing line back of the brick house, someone's going to nick that.
They steal it every time I come back from my trip and my swing line's gone. So I'm bringing my stapler. So very cool. Anyway, I like these Briggs & Rileys. I will bring mine in and you can look at it. Tried it. I liked it so much I got one for Lisa too because we're going on a vacation in September. So we'll have this when we get on the plane. You roll, no longer have to lift. Folds up. It even has this little back handle that flips around so it goes on the other luggage when the roller is up and attaches securely. Lots of nice little things. Briggs & Riley makes nice stuff. 20 years old, by the way. They're celebrating. So, but that's $329. So, I'm going to put the $15 Grit-It in there, $40 Grit-It in there, and be very, very happy.
I have them in 3 different sizes. They're really,
I'm so excited. I've never seen such a thing, and it really works.
I wish. Unfortunately, I was busy up until like 5 minutes before the show, or else I would have taken the one that I keep. That it has one copy of an iPhone charger cable, one copy of a USB of a micro USB cable, one copy of a 10-watt charger, one copy of everything that I need when I'm spending 3 hours at a coffee shop, and and it's all organized. Also, another key is to have a duplicate of everything, so that this is where that one copy of that cable goes, so that it will. I don't have to rob Peter to pay Paul anywhere in the house. It's where that thing one belongs.
So I'm going to buy another stapler, so I can leave one at home and put one in my Grit-It, and then I'll always have it. The ream of paper, the stapler, the hole punch.
You should also have like NFC tags on each one of those things, so that you can, with people, you can
scan them.
Check it in and check it out of every room that you go in.
And 3 Chromecasts.
Now they have aluminum, and I don't know what the other one is. Do you recommend the metal, or is there a lot of torque on the? I guess it's probably plastic. The other one.
Aluminum.
They double-sided aluminum Grit-Its.
They make different kinds of.
The ones you have are probably.
I have the first generation ones that aren't even backed with like metal or plastic.
Oh, okay.
Because if you do over on that, I think maybe that was like an innovation to give you 2-sided storage,
right?
Or something.
It's double-sided, so you got one side and you got the other side, and then you really got something.
Here you go. Now you're cooking with gas.
Now you're cooking with gas. I could have 2 staplers and a roll of stamps.
And replacement staples.
Letter opener. Extra staples. Very, very handy. I am ready for this trip. We're going on an office supply cruise. It's going to be so great. Yeah, I'm very excited. Andy Anaka writes for the Chicago Sun-Times. His review of the 1120 appears tomorrow. If he could just get his aperture open.
If I can just not do this. Okay, so now this picture from the iPhone 5 next to this picture from the 1020, Command Shift 4. Yes. Move on. Now this picture from the LX1. Damn it. Why am I thorough?
Stop being so thorough. Stop it.
I get paid the same whether I do a good job or not. I should just, not do a good job sometimes.
Wow.
There you go.
It's a very moving speech.
No, I tweeted. I've never elicited so much sympathy and empathy from fellow writers in my life that when I tweeted earlier today, facing the task of like screenshotting and putting these things, that this is for every tech, even no matter how long I'm writing about technology, doing screenshots and stuff like that is still like eating vegetables. I will push them to the side of the plate. It is the last thing I will do because I hate it so much. It's like not creative. It's just technical and boring, and it has to be done. And I just got, oh man, that's the worst thing too. I hate doing that. I want to get rich enough that I could just hire some high school kid to do it for me.
My entire photo stream is filled with screenshots right now.
Oh, I hate that. Hate that feeling. That's Rene Ritchie, imore.com, if you want to follow him. And he also is participating in a very exciting Talk Mobile project at talkmobile2013.com. New stuff this week.
Yes, sir. This is Enterprise Week. And since that's a little boring, we tried to make it as fun as possible. And one thing that might be interesting to people who are nerdier is I spent an hour with Guy English talking about the new Mac Pro and OpenCL and what those giant GPUs mean. And that's in our Vector podcast. It's nerdy, but it's really like he sees a whole new, entirely different version of software coming for devices like this.
Interesting. Yeah, I will certainly buy one of those Mac Pros, just for my personal use. But we are really trying, we're up in the air here because we are at the point now where we have old Mac Pros running Final Cut Studio, not 10, and we really have to decide what's next. And it may be a PC if I mean, I'm worried that each of those, you add a couple of Thunderbolt 2 external drives, it's going to end up 10 grand a station.
That's what we budget. We budget 12.
Well, you got more money than God. I can't do
No,
that.
we just don't have that many. I don't think we have as many as you do.
Yeah. Well,
So
I don't know. We have 5, something like that. Thank you, Rene Ritchie. Alex Lindsay, Pixel Core. He's off to Boston.
I'm going to be in a couple of places.
Where else?
I'm tempted to do some tweet ups or meetups or whatever they call it. So I'm gonna be in Kansas City on Friday, and then I'm going to be in DC on Saturday and Sunday, and then I'll be in Boston on Monday and Tuesday. And so follow me on Twitter, and I'm going to see if I can sort out where to go. But anyway, Kansas City on Friday.
HBO, by the way, just said we're actively supporting Chromecast as another way for our subscribers to enjoy HBO Go. So they have publicly announced that. Revision 3, Songza.
Nice.
It's kind of scary if I were to count out how many devices I have in my house that are capable of getting Netflix.
I know. Netflix is everywhere.
That's the
refrigerator.
the unifying principle.
My one main TV has Netflix on the TV, Netflix on the PlayStation 3, Netflix on the Roku, Netflix on the Apple TV, and Netflix on the Chromecast. That's one TV.
Right.
Oh, and the Blu-ray player. Thank you for being here. We appreciate it. We do MacBreak Weekly around about 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern Time, 1900 UTC every Tuesday. Begins the week. We kick the week off with MacBreak Weekly.
Yes.
Hope you'll tune in. Join us live. If you can't, we make on-demand audio and video always available after the fact at twit.tv/MBW or wherever finer podcasts are offered, including Instacast, Downcatcher, Dogcatcher, Upcatcher, and that thing called iTunes.
Podcast.
That thing.
Podcatcher. Lemon Potter. Remember iPodder Lemon? We're still on that.
We all had such big hopes.
High hopes. High hopes. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you next time. Now get back to work. Break time is over. Hello. Wait a minute. It's here. My 6800 development system for the Macintosh. I've been waiting for this. I'm now ready to get, 68,000. I'm now ready to do assembly language.
If you need the phone book, I have a copy in the next room.
This was actually, I don't know if this is the one, but is this MPW? Because MPW was the single best programming environment I ever worked in. No, this is pre-MPW, Macintosh Programmers Workshop. Did you just get this, Alex? No, I've had it. I just pulled it up. Alex Couple's funny because he's like a major Windows guy, but for some reason he collects archaic Macintoshania. Macintoshalia. Yeah, including this. That's beautiful. For the serious programmer and computer enthusiast, the Macintosh 68,000 development system is a powerful environment for creating Macintosh programs in assembly language.
Awesome.
Makes programming in assembly language fast and productive. This is cool.
And delightful.
Delightful. It just works. And if it doesn't, it's got a great debugger.
And if you spent your entire childhood learning 6502 machine code, screw you.
Oh, that was an awful processor. 68,000 was a beautiful processor, especially compared to the 8086.
8086.
Horrible.
Yes.
All right, guys.
Thanks, Leo.
Thanks,
Andy.
Guys.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
Go do your review.
Alex, let us sync up our schedules because hell or high water, we need to get together.
Yes, absolutely.
You're going to Waltham.
Awesome.
I have a feeling.
All right, see ya.
Yes, you've just won a trip to Waltham, Massachusetts. We had a lot of very wonderful titles float by. I'm not going to do Cracker Tracker.
Zungu Tracker.
No.
I Want More Mommy was one of them.
I Want More Mommy, more staplers.
The Eye Shackle.
Wait a minute, now you're on. When did you take over?
I swapped in. Just ran over here.
Now we got Brian Burnett on our TD. Keeping up with the Googles. The Mommy Slider. That was kind of cool. Sounds vaguely dirty.
Yeah, let's stay away from that one.
The Mommy Slider. I like that. All right, maybe we'll do that one. Hoot Pocket. You have my name there? Cracker Tracker, I don't know. It sounds vaguely racist. Maybe not so vaguely. If Andy can open his aperture. This is MacBreak Weekly, episode 361, recorded July 30th, 2013. The Mommy Slider. MacBreak Weekly is brought to you by Shutterstock.com with over 26 million high-quality stock photos, illustrations, vectors, and video clips. Shutterstock helps take your creative project to the next level. For 30% off your new account, go to Shutterstock.com and use the offer code MacBreak7. And by the new PDF Pen 6, the powerful all-purpose PDF editing tool from Smile. You can add signatures, make changes, correct typos, fill out forms, and more. And now with version 6, you can export your PDFs to Microsoft Word format. Learn more at smilesoftware.com/MacBreak. It's time for MacBreak Weekly. Andy and Alex are here along with Renee Ritchie. We're going to talk about Bob Mansfield. What does his new job portend? We'll also take a look at some of the announcements Google made this week and how they might affect Apple. It's all coming up next on MacBreak Weekly. Okay, Cracker Tracker. Okay. It's a good name. What is it?
Mzungu.
Mzungu. M-Z-U-N-G.
Yeah, when you drive through like Tanzania through little villages, all the kids will run out and you just hear this Mzungu, because they all come running out, they're pointing at you and they're pretty sure that you don't have any idea what they're saying.
It used to in China they used to go Gaijin, which means foreign devil. That's good. Oh, it's Gaijin. Foreign devil. Yeah, it's kind of the same thing. Yep.
And the key, by the way, is that you just look out the window and go Poa, which is cool. But as soon as you say something in Swahili, all the kids go like,
"Oh, he knows what Mzungu means." So it's kind of insulting.
Yes.
What does it literally mean? Whitey?
It really is a term for it really just is kind of it's a term for white foreigner. You know, it's kind of
like
the thing.
And
and depending on, I mean, you can get shirts that say Mzungu. You know,
really?
Yeah.
That's good. That's owning it.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm gonna say from now on, for shizzle Mzungu, Mzungu. Gaijin is Japanese. It was Chinese, but maybe they say it in Japan.
Yeah,
too.
gringo is a pretty
gringo. Same thing. Yeah, haole in Hawaii, where they say haole. That's kind of not so complimentary, right? Non-Japanese or alien in Japan. I was sure that we learned it in China, but it's Japanese. You're right. It doesn't mean foreign devil. So there is a word for foreign devil in Chinese. Maybe I'm confusing that. Guizhou, Guilo. That's it. They would say Guilo. Guilo. Oh, you even know it. Somebody just call me a Guilo. You knew it? You're right, Guilo. Yep. So Gaijin is Japanese and Guilo is Chinese. I confused the two. When they saw you coming? Oh, in Kung Fu movies. Ah. Oh, in the TV show, huh? When did he say it? Well, he didn't say it. He said that? He said, I don't want you to forget I'm not going to be around? Really? I must have confused it because he had told me that he was going to be in Alabama the week before, and so I must have confused that with. Yeah, I thought he didn't tell me. So he told me?
Yeah, because he made a point of it.
He came up to me and said, I'm going to be gone all week? Yeah, see, that's the problem is that, that doesn't quite qualify for letting me know. I obviously wasn't listening because I don't remember him saying that. Huh? Do you want to take a look at your parachute video or do you trust us? I trust you implicitly. We'll do pictures in a second, but let me just run to the bathroom. Huh? Is it funny? Do my pants falling down make the cut? Even better, because it implies that something worse happened. That's good. And we added a sound effect. I'll be right back. Right back for photos. Let me just stretch my legs. Oh, well, I apologize. I didn't realize you told me. Did I say, yes, I got it? You're not going to be here next week.
Who wants pictures first?
This restaurant in Greenville, and they had hush puppies with every freaking course. I was not that there's nothing wrong with that, but it was just a lot of hush puppy. They said, "Oh no, this is the best restaurant in Greenville." I said, "Oh, this is good." Everything was fried, and everything came with hush puppies. Do you know that restaurant?
You know what? We've got so many better restaurants now.
It's probably a lot better. You're right. That was like more than 10 years ago. Yeah. The other thing I vividly remember in Greenville is all the cars. I guess there was a big college game coming up because all the cars with the college flags whipping around.
With the Clemson flags.
Clemson flags. You got it. I think it was Clemson, Florida, or something like that.
Florida
Yeah.
State.
So people coming up from Florida. They had their Florida flags, and the Clemson had all the Tigers. It was amazing. It was.
It's amazing.
You really don't realize here how important college football is.
You have no idea.
Yeah,
yes,
it's just giant. Then when I saw Friday Night Lights, I realized high school football in Texas is like
absolutely.
Yeah.
It is. Saturdays everything stops.
Yeah, everything stops.
Everything stops.
Yeah,
everything stops.
It's kind of cool. It's kind of
cool. It is cool.
So what do you do in Greenville?
I am IT manager with a large grocery store chain.
Cool.
And you're the reason I even got into starting.
Well, that's great. You weren't there at that Greenville event.
I was
were
not,
you?
but I remember when you came.
Yeah.
When you were on Tech TV, or maybe it was ZD.
No, it was Tech TV probably. Yeah.
We,
And I think I went. I can't remember. I think that one I had Michaela with me. I can't remember who was with me on that. We started doing a lot of them. They kind of became a blur after a while.
Right.
But I'll never forget Greenville. It was really fun. Yeah, I loved it. Well, it's nice to see you.
Nice to see you.
Thanks for coming. Hey, what's your name? Scott.
Scott.
Hi, Scott. Funky Iguana, Scott.
I was wondering if you could sign this for my son. He's at scout camp right now.
Oh.
He's been listening to you since he was born.
Oh, what's his name?
Bade.
to Dade. Sorry, I missed you. This is like the original iPod.
I got that just before he was born.
2001.
Yep, the original one.
Wow.
Gig, I think. And I charged
Does
it
he
up
use
and it
it?
actually works.
Yeah, Firewire. You know what? Mine does too. In fact, I was looking to see what the music was that I was listening to 2001. Isn't that funny?
Pretty bad.
Yeah, not good.
Don't look.
Is it charged up?
It is charged up. I think there's about a dozen songs on it. It's bad.
That's so funny. Yeah, it was only 5 gigs. Yeah, it's so funny. Mine's in the rack over there. You know, my museum. Huh? Oh, you got to find a FireWire cable. That's problem number 1, right?
Yeah, and then
yeah,
and then a port to use.
Right. I think I still have.
I found one of the old square chargers that came with it.
Oh wow, that's history too.
Little collection.
Save that. That's your museum. Yeah.
Oh,
all right. Nice to meet you.
Thanks.
Where are you from?
Vancouver, Washington.
Awesome. Very nice. Well, give regards to Dade too. I'm sorry I missed him.
Thank you.
Sorry I missed him. Next time, come down. Father-son trip.
Yes.
That'd be really fun. How you doing? What's your name?
Luciano.
Hi, Luciano. Where are you from?
Italy.
No. Where in Italy?
Near Venice, 40 miles north of Venice.
I'm going to be in Venice in September. We are staying at the Hotel Luna Baglioni for 3 days on St. Mark's Square, Piazza San Marco. And then we're going on a boat, and we're cruising down to the Adriatic and all through Greece. I'm so excited. I love Venice. Venezia is beautiful. So what's the name of the town you're from?
Oh, Marino di Piave.
Marino di Piave, huh?
Yeah.
My mom had a house in Tuscany for a summer in Pieve di Presiano. It's a little town in Tuscany near Arezzo, and I went there for a month, and it's the most beautiful place in the world. You are very lucky to live in Italy. So what brings you to the U.S.?
My wife is American, so we spend the summer here in Berkeley.
Aren't you lucky you have a romantic Italian husband? Is it all it hopes to be? Yes, he lives up to that. He's so handsome. Yeah. How'd you meet?
I came here to study English.
You were studying in Berkeley?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah? And so you spent half a year there, half a year here? I am so freaking jealous. How fun is that? So you spent summer in Berkeley? Or? Yeah.
It's cooler here.
It's a lot cooler, I know, yeah. But I think we're going to be in Venice September 18th. That's a nice time, yeah?
Yeah.
It's not too hot.
Yeah.
It'll be perfect, I think. And then Greece won't be too hot, and then Turkey in early October. It should be just about right.
Yeah.
And fewer tourists. Yeah, but are you there for Carnivale? Do you go to Venice for Carnivale?
No,
it's too crazy, huh?
Yeah. You don't want to be.
You don't want to be there. Yeah. It's also freezing.
Oh, it's cold.
It snows. Yeah. It's a bad time to have Carnivale, but I guess Lent, you got to do what you got to do, right? So nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you, Luciano. Take care. Nice to meet you too. You scored. You got a handsome Italian man. You live half the year in Italy. My God, your family must be so jealous. What a deal. Nice to meet you. What do you do in Italy? What's your work? You teach? What do you teach?
Physical education.
Okay, good. So he's also physically fit. Okay, I'm just going to stop now. What's your name?
Hey, Leo.
What's your name?
I'm Dave Leisman.
Hi, Dave. Yeah, of course. Nice to see you again.
I want to thank you so much for making your place so accessible to the.
It's so nice to have you.
Fans.
I'm glad you enjoy it. Yeah. It makes it so much more fun than if I were just working here and there were nobody here. It's so much better to have an audience who can remind me that Chad told me. Must have been listening because I have no memory of that at all.
I think he was nervous about making sure you knew, but you were busy.
Well, that's the problem. Is I'm thinking about the show. I'm preparing.
That was the most amazing thing during the show. You're doing so many things at one time.
I'm playing Simpsons Tapped Out.
It's very cool.
Yeah,
this is great.
Thank you. Where are you from? You're Canada?
Rochester, New York.
Rochester. That's right.
We appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thanks for coming. I appreciate it. Who's next? See ya. Bye-bye. What's your name?
Johnny.
Hi, Johnny. Welcome.
Yeah.
Where are you from?
Portland, Oregon.
Very nice. We had Rochester. Now we're on the other side entirely, Portland. And what brings you here?
10th
Vacation?
anniversary. Yes.
Oh, that's nice. Where's your wife? You got dragged here for your 10th anniversary. That's so romantic. I feel so bad for the spouses, you know. That's all right. You both have gorgeous guys. Do you know each other or just met here? That's good. Let's go. We have. Well, don't you want to be in the picture? You have to listen to this crap all the time. You should at least be in the picture.
I filter it for a lot.
Do you?
Yeah.
You say you're not going to want to hear that. I'll listen at night. I'll listen when you're asleep.
Yeah, exactly.
Congratulations. What else are you doing for your anniversary?
We're going to go run on the Golden Gate Bridge.
Good. On the topless bus?
We're going to run.
Run it.
You're going to run on it?
Yeah. Training for...
Oh, yeah? Marathoners?
I'm
yeah, seriously. Yeah. You're a marathoner.
I'm not yet. I will be.
Good for you. Yeah. So you're training for your first. That's exciting. Where's it going to be, in Portland?
Yeah, Portland Marathon.
How exciting.
And we've got a relay race, too.
And you're a runner as well?
Yeah.
That's great. Is that how you met?
No.
She ran,
different
you chased?
Story. Yeah.
No, we've only been running for a couple of years.
That's neat. That's really great. Yeah. Oh, well, so nice to meet you both.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Thank you. We have a lot of runners because you have to do something while you're running. You listen. A lot of marathoners listen to the podcast because it's a lot of training, right? A lot of time on the road. Nice to meet you. Thank you. Who would ever use an iPad as a camera? You would. Hi, what's your name?
Bill Grist.
Hi, Bill. Where are you from?
Upland, California.
All right.
KFI country.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I get calls from Upland. Yeah, Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet
Just
you.
Celebrated our 1,000th show. Started on KFI in 2004. Took over from Jeff Levy. He was your computer guy.
Right.
And they said, we don't want to just be computers. Could you be the tech guy? I said, well, all right. It rhymes.
I met Jeff Levy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a nice guy. I like
my
Jeff.
picture taken with him as well.
I had been on, this is the funny thing, I'd been on the Jeff Levy show. Not a lot, but like a few times. So I knew Jeff, certainly. And he got a much better offer at KNX, even though KNX is not anywhere near the station that KFI is. But they gave him more money or whatever. And so I had worked for the program director at KFI up here at KGO, Robin Bertolucci. So I was very lucky I did because she called me and I said, yeah. Because as it happens, Tech TV's falling apart. And I might need a job soon. That was in January, and by April, they'd fired me. So it
You're
was
big
just
on
right.
KFI down there.
Oh, it's wonderful.
I have twin
love
boys,
that station.
and the three of us listen every weekend.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Okay.
How old are your boys?
They're 30 now.
Oh, wow. But you're still in touch, and you hang out on the weekends.
Oh, yeah.
They're not living at home, are they?
They live in San Diego.
Oh, that's great. So
Couple hours away.
They can listen on KOGO down there. Yeah, go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you.
Okay, nice
Thanks
to
for
meet you.
coming up. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
I hope
It's
you
a great
enjoyed
studio.
it. Isn't it nice?
I love it.
I've worked at so many nondescript, soundproof radio stations where you couldn't have a cup of coffee, and it was just horrible. And I thought, well, I'm not, I can.
I'm actually here.
That's the studio.
This guy right
Oh,
here
yeah?
is from Petaluma, right here.
Local guy.
Local guy.
All right. I like that.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you. What's your name?
Hi, I'm Israel.
Hi, Israel. Where are you from?
From Barcelona.
Barcelona. How nice. One of my favorite cities in the world.
Is it?
Oh, yeah. I love the Gaudi stuff, the Park Well.
Oh, I'm from Madrid. I just lived there for...
You're from Madrid, and you're not a Catalan. You moved north?
Yeah.
It's pretty. And the beaches down there, we stayed about an hour south of there for a conference, and it was so beautiful. And just
it's very beautiful.
Yeah. And I love paella.
Yes.
So you can't go wrong with that
nice.
either.
Yeah. It's very nice.
How fun. And what brings you here?
Just on holiday. Just living in Berkeley for some time.
How fun. So you did a house trade, or?
Yeah, we used to do home swap.
Perfect.
Yeah.
How nice. And Berkeley's beautiful. Do you like it?
It's amazing.
Had you been here before?